40. 2 decades stuck in the green bamboo mountain market. A trash-tier spiritual root, capped at the third layer of chi refining, constantly drawing talismans just to line other people's pockets. I finally decided to head home and just be normal. But something woke inside me that same spring. And that desperate side hustle I picked up? It actually turned into the only thing that mattered. Every talisman I drew for 20 years was just practice. Those wasted decades were actually my cheat code. Hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. Both really help keep these uploads going. But let me rewind to the day before everything shifted. The day when everything still felt completely hopeless. A cold voice cuts right through my sleep, reading me my verdict. First my name, and then my absolute garbage aptitude. Mjangen, low-grade spiritual root. I jolt awake from the nightmare. I stare out the window, watching the very first spring rain of the year drip slowly from the roof tiles. The faint, heavy scent of wet earth drifts in, and for just one heartbeat, I am back in my early 20s. Stepping into the cultivation world, completely full of fire. 40 years completely vanished in the blink of an eye. I listen to the rain hitting the roof and just sigh. I am really not young anymore. After desperately clinging to this dream for so long, it is finally time to let it go. I have seen enough of this life to just walk away. Still staring into the wet darkness, my mind naturally rewinds. 20 years ago, the guiding immortal master, Elderite, plucked me and 3 other kids right out of our village. He took us to take the entrance exam for Iwa Palace. We strutted in there completely full of ourselves. The reality check was brutal. Having a low-grade spiritual root at 20 meant absolutely no sect wanted me as a disciple. I was somehow already too old to even be hired as a basic servant. Elder Reich actually felt bad for us. So he recommended me and Li Ao, who bombed the test on the exact same day, straight to the green bamboo mountain market. 20 autumns and winters later, I am still right here. A garbage spiritual root and 0 cash for cultivation resources basically equals 20 wasted years. Only reason I even hit chi refining 3rd layer is because I started trading. I always tell myself to be satisfied. At least the stall-owning talisman master never has to hunt demon beasts or lick blood off a blade just to afford a meal. I did my absolute best with the hand I was dealt. For 2 decades, I avoided every single vice and never slacked off. Outside of eating, drinking, taking a piss, and grabbing some sleep, every waking hour went straight into cultivation and drawing talismans. I was stuck in the rat race during my last life, and I am in it again now. I have absolutely nothing left to give. I just hit 40. It is officially time to accept my fate. That is my entire eulogy. It took me 20 long years to write it. Suddenly, someone hammers on my door hard enough to shake the wood. Lou yells through the wood, asking if I am okay. He says I drank so much at the brothel yesterday that he spent the entire night stressing over me. I finally yank the door open, and he immediately exhales a heavy breath right by my face. I tell him I am doing fine, actually noticing a faint smile on my face as I speak. Lou was one of the guys who failed the sex selection with me, a true brother in the mud. We headed out to Green Bamboo Mountain Market together. The only difference is he actually chose to marry into a local family. 20 years completely scrubbed the farm boy right off him. Now he stands in my doorway looking like a proper cultivator at the 4th layer of chi refining. He takes one look at my rough state, drops a heavy hand on my shoulder, and mutters helplessly that we survived all these years together. He totally gets it. A small warmth spreads through my chest at that. Marrying into a family is absolutely no walk in the park for a cultivator either. Back then, the Jew family was actively losing a brutal turf war over resources. They desperately needed their origin chi restored, which was the only reason they even recruited outsiders. On any normal day, an opportunity like that simply never appears. I actually catch myself eyeing his fine robes with raw envy. I interviewed for that exact spot myself back then. But the Jew family was not looking for a pretty face. They needed someone honest and rock solid. A guy like me got rejected on sight. My face pretty much ruined my chances. Lou sighs heavily again. He is totally past his farm boy phase. There is a heavy, aristocratic polish in the quiet way he carries himself now. I wave the pity away and force a relaxed grin. I remind him that a cultivator stuck at chi refining can always just drop down to the mortal world and rule a massive region like a king. Massive plots of land, a sprawling mansion, a few gorgeous maids. Honestly, it really would not be a terrible way to bow out. I laugh, warning him not to get jealous when my sweet life begins. He just grins and agrees, clearly thinking about his own complicated life as a son-in-law. Anyone else would have bought that carefree smile without question. But a bitter cultivator stuck in a 20-year loop knows exactly what his own fake smile is worth. Then, Lou suddenly remembers why he actually showed up. He drops his voice. Shifting awkwardly, he tells me my big plan to return to the mortal world might have to stay on hold a bit longer. I demand to know what happened. He mutters that orders just came down from the top brass. They are massively ramping up the land reclamation. He does not even need to finish the sentence. 2 decades surviving in this market means I already know the punchline. The crushing dread hits me before he ever stops talking. When a guy is born unlucky, even a sip of cold water catches in his teeth. I finally give up on going home. And the very next morning, the universe decides to charge me rent for staying. It took over 20 years of brutal reclamation for this market to hit its current size. Statute labor rolls around every 3 years. Skip swinging a hoe on the frontier and you pay up. But with the workload ramping up, that exemption fee is about to double. I tell him I get it. Looks like I will be heading right back to my old trade, grinding away a little longer. I really want to leave, but reality has a hand shoved flat against my chest. Leilyu glances left and right like he is about to commit a crime. He yanks off one long boot and fishes out a cloth bundle carrying a very distinct smell. I laugh and scold him a bit. 20 years up here still have not cured that nasty habit. He pops the bundle open anyway. 26 spirit crystals sitting on the cloth, each the exact size of a fingernail. Spirit crystals are basically pocket change in the cultivation world, the unit right under spirit stones. He slides them across the table, thus telling me to borrow them for now. He knows I am totally burnt out, packing for the mortal world. He knows every spirit stone I owned is already traded for mortal goods. I do not turn down his kindness this time, because honestly, after all my careful packing, my pockets are way cleaner than my own face. I thank him, and he replies dead serious. I helped him out a lot back in the day. Back when we first stumbled into the cultivation scene, I was constantly watching his back. When the Jew family posted their son-in-law requirements, I read the notice and sprinted straight home to go fetch him. I see him off at the door. I watch him walk right through the heavy rain without a single drop hitting his shoulders, the perk of a low-grade magic robe. He managed to have a kid with a spiritual route, and now he has finally broken through himself. His life inside the Jew family is about to get a whole lot easier. I shut the door on that thought before it settles in. The scattered gold and silver jewelry across my table would make any ordinary guy pretty greedy. I just sweep it into a cloth bag like a pile of dirt. Because up here that is exactly what it is worth. Still, it pays for my eventual trip down the mountain. So I just toss the bag into the corner by the door. Time to craft talismans again. I rub my tired temples and settle cross-legged on the bed. Making talismans is delicate work. Requires a completely clear head and steady energy. Right now, I simply cannot afford to waste good paper and cinnabar. So I just sit, starting to circulate the Everspring art. Suddenly, a light flares up that has absolutely no business being there. My eyes snap wide. A glowing panel hangs open in my mind, reading my entire life back in tidy lines. It lists my name as Mjangen. My lifespan 40 out of 88. It puts my realm at Chi Refining 3rd layer, 95 out of 100. My cultivation technique, the Everspring art, sits at 489 proficiency out of 500. Under skills, my Golden Light Talisman is 498 out of 500. My Godspeed Talisman shows 358. Then it runs down my spells. Fireball Technique at 450 Mastery out of 1000. Breath Concealment Technique at 210. Invisibility Technique at 120. The Object Manipulation Technique shows 478 out of 500. The list trails off with even more. Just staring at it knocks a wild, stupid joy right through my chest. 40 years total. 20 in the mortal world. 20 in the cultivation world. And I have finally been handed a system cheat of my very own. Then the obvious question hits. My face pulls into a hard squint, because I really need to know how this thing actually woke up. I went to sleep. Before that, I visited a brothel. It definitely was not triggered by a woman, since that was hardly my first trip there. The wine. I stare at my empty bed with the answers sitting right there. If I have this right, I drank way too much last night. After Leilyu hauled me home, I basically drank myself almost to death without even noticing, which means the cheat switched on the exact second was actually slipping away. I slapped the table, telling the empty room that the wine must have been totally watered down. Then my eyes slide sideways and catch the mirror. The guy in it is handsome. Gentle features, bright and elegant. 40 years old without a single sign of it, carrying nothing worse than a quiet, settled maturity. That face is exactly why the Jew family kicked me out in the first place. Right now, though, there is a heavy slump between his brows. Faint blue shadows under his eyes. The sight completely drains the color out of me. A few days of moping, and I turned into that mess. I slap my thigh, swearing off the drink as of today. I have been incredibly slack lately, and I know exactly why. Whatever lame excuse I had expired the very second that panel opened up. My lucky break has arrived, and I am absolutely not wasting it. My face looks alive again. The fire in my chest feels exactly like the one I carried my very first time walking into the cultivation world. There is zero chance of calming down enough to actually cultivate. So instead, I spend the entire day opening the panel and closing it again. Over and over and over. The gray drizzle keeps falling until night finally drops over the mountain. The market slowly loses its daytime noise. I am still sitting right where I started, my eyes completely bloodshot, my face burned with something I couldn't talk down. I hadn't slept for a full 24 hours, terrified that if I closed my eyes and opened them again, the system panel would just be some drunk man's hallucination. Snap out of it, I tell myself. This is only the beginning. Proving the Tao and reaching true longevity might not be a total pipe dream after all. I take a deep breath, push myself up, and shove my head into a basin of freezing water. I stay under until my heart slows, then finally come up gasping. Since I was already packing for the mortal world, most of my spirit crystals had been blown on things I actually have zero use for. The immediate problem is that statute labor Li Lu warned me about. In past years, the labor tax ran 5 spirit stones. This time it will be at least 10. For a loose cultivator at the early stage of chi refining, 10 spirit stones is serious money. I need that cash ready in advance. A man who can't pay the tax just gets shipped out with a land reclamation crew. So I sit down right there and count exactly what I own. 1 chest of gold, silver, and jewelry, completely useless up here. Plus a bag of mortal world cultivation manuals, martial arts skills, and sharp weapons. Equally useless. I have 15 low-grade first-tier Golden Light Talismans and 10 Godspeed Talismans. And exactly 1 low-grade magical artifact, my green bamboo sword. Everything else on the table is just the talisman-making kit I live off, plus the Everspring art itself. Besides the 26 spirit crystals I borrowed from Li Lu, I have another 20 of my own. I dig them out one at a time from the inner pocket of my boots. Looking at the absolute sum total of my worldly property, I just nod. Every single crystal I earned over 20 years went right back into cultivation. That explains the pathetic pile. I need money, and I need it fast. Midnight finds me sitting at the table. Talisman making requires a perfectly calm mind and a gathered spirit. I light the calming incense and lay out every tool. Then I sit with my eyes shut for 2 full hours, waiting for my heart to quiet down enough to start. Then I uncap the jade bottle and dip my spirit brush into the special cinnabar paste inside. I hold my breath. The whole world narrows down to that blank paper in front of me. I've spent almost 20 years doing this, especially the Golden Light Talisman. Gentle mana flows out of my palm, down through the brush tip, and lays itself onto the paper perfectly steady. Metal attribute spirit beast blood carries the cinnabar ink. The brush tip glides across the sheet like a dragon moving through water, completely smooth from the very first stroke to the last. My body has repeated this motion so many times that it just does the thinking for me. Suddenly a ball of flame lifts off the sheet and the paper burns itself to nothing without any actual fire touching it. I wave the ashes away without even flinching. I've watched that happen more times than I can possibly count. Then I just pull out the next sheet. 3 failures go by, then the 4th talisman finishes. A line of text flashes across the panel in my sea of consciousness. It puts the Golden Light Talisman at 499 proficiency out of 500. I just sit there staring at that number for a long while, before the breath finally leaves me. So that is exactly how it works. Talisman making used to just keep me fed, but now there is an actual path forming under my feet. The system panel updates once more, telling me the Golden Light Talisman has officially advanced. It resets to 0 mastery out of 1000. The exact second that high-quality talisman comes off my brush, pure understanding pours in. Insight after insight flashes back through every single sheet of paper I ever ruined. When I finally open my eyes, I know exactly what this breakthrough just handed me. It wasn't a steadier hand. It was my own sight opening up. Like clouds parting off a mountain I've been blindly standing on for 20 straight years. I look down at the finished Golden Light Talisman resting on the table, and I mentally tally up all the wrong, completely unnecessary strokes I've been forcing into these things. By the time the night finally burns out entirely, there are 8 Golden Light Talismans lined up perfectly on my table. Now that the skill has reached mastery, each one cost me a full 10th less mana than before, and saved mana directly translates to saved spirit crystals. Somewhere in that long night, I finally figured out what my cheat actually does. Effort guarantees a payout. It isn't that finishing 1 talisman strictly equals 1 point. Because those 8 finished talismans didn't just add 2 flat points of proficiency. One of last night's points arrived the exact instant I realized I could draw a stroke differently. That means my own mental insight counts as hard work too. As long as I pour my whole heart into a task, the task pays me back. The idea of mindlessly grinding for proficiency dies before it even takes root. If I don't give the work everything I have, I could crank out hundreds of Golden Light Talismans, and that proficiency number wouldn't budge a single hair. But do it with real intention and the effort pays off. That is the one and only correct way to use this cheat. That still leaves the other half of my problem. The cultivation world is incredibly treacherous, and one careless step usually turns into a fatal disaster. When I first showed up at this market, I had so much passion for heading out with fellow Taoists to hunt down demon beasts, getting rich overnight, trading the haul for spirit pills, and breaking through with the profits. But that was always just a story for the lucky ones. Most of the rest ended up face down in a pool of their own blood. Guys in the middle stage of chi refining ended up dead on those hunts. I was early stage and just walked home. People can judge my attitude all they want. That math makes me one of the lucky ones. Crafting talismans all night drains my mana practically dry, and yet I am grinning. I even break out the spirit crystals I usually hoard, burning them to restore everything I spent. When I finally wrap up, the morning sun is blazing and the rain is gone. Warm light washes over a freshly scrubbed world. Water dripping from the emerald bamboo leaves past the market wall sparkles like tiny scattered stars. The market is a roaring wall of noise by the time I step outside. Peddlers are screaming over each other at their stalls. One guy pushes fresh demon beast meat, butchered yesterday, for 10 pounds of spirit crystal. Another pitches fasting pills as an absolute necessity for heading deep into the wild. I stroll the blue stone pavement, breathing in a place I know down to its very cracks. It really is better to stay here. That heavy reluctance I felt packing, it feels like belonged to another guy entirely. And honestly, it feels great. Plenty of acquaintances catch one glimpse of my bloodshot eyes and secretly shake their heads. They probably wonder if they are staring right at their own future. Strangers brush past silently, but familiar faces actually smile. They cup their hands and greet me respectfully as a fellow Taoist. 20 years in this market, but today my heart beats a little differently. I have far more smiles to return. Many cultivators here have it much rougher than me. Then I catch one hollow face after another. The excitement drains right out of me by degrees. I remember the sheer optimism I arrived with before reality ground it to dust. Pure stubbornness keeps these men moving forward. Nothing finer than simple survival. That was me. The road ahead remains incredibly long in a shifting world. Under the morning sun, my steps land firm as I navigate a street packed with rushed, vacant faces. Fellow Taoist Na, the cultivator slinging meat, stares at my back. He just cannot figure out what feels different today. A bystander mentions the rumor that fellow Taoist M is preparing to head down to the mortal world. Na sighs and says he completely gets it. The fellow Taoists who know me just shake their heads. They have watched this happen too many times, expecting their own turn. Quite a few cultivators here could head down tomorrow and live like kings. Yet they stay, grinding endlessly for the slim chance of a kid born with a spiritual root. I take the main street straight toward Jimbo Tower, the official Iwa Palace shop right here. Shopkeeper Mio steps out to greet me with a massive smile, pointing out that I am pretty early today. The second he spots the talismans I pull out, that smile turns completely genuine. He immediately insists he knew I had no business running off to the mortal realm. My talismans keep getting better. The Everspring art is famously slow and steady. I just nod, admitting his eyes are sharp as ever, and announce I am staying. We have done business for almost 20 years now. From my rough days on a demon beast hunting squad, right through to my life-making talismans. Because I buy all my cinnabar and paper right here, he knows my foundation just like I know his. Slapping 20 Golden Light Talismans and 8 God Talismans on his counter proves I am staying put. Nobody drops down without heavy savings. Once a cultivator heads outside, raw talisman materials are seriously tough to find. Then he pauses on one specific sheet. Pure disbelief washes over his face. He calls it a high-quality Golden Light Talisman. I tell him his wisdom eye is sharp as a lightning strike. He stares at me, deeply amused, and mentions how he was wondering why my energy felt totally different today. Now he finally has his answer. The guy is genuinely thrilled for me. Not just because he scored a bigger client, but because a loyal 20-year customer finally managed to break through. He casually quotes an old saying that among the 100 arts of cultivation, pills, artifacts, and arrays stand at the absolute peak. Talisman crafting is simple to learn, yet utterly brutal to master. Then he congratulates me on real progress. I absorb it, feeling way more emotional than expected. I tell him a single leaf had been blinding me this entire time. Honestly, I never imagined the big breakthrough would hit right as I was about to quit. 20 years of bitter cultivation. Only I know the true taste of it. Mayo nods in agreement. He has watched countless cultivators burn their lives grinding against one thin layer of window paper, never managing to punch through. Then he asks, spirit stone materials. Spirit stones, obviously. After 20 long years, somebody is finally offering me something better than basic spirit crystals. I have to fight to keep my face totally neutral. I ask for the usual setup. He calls for 2 stacks of talisman paper and 1 bottle of gold tribute cinnabar. 2 thick yellow stacks and a jade bottle land right on the counter. He prices the materials at 20 spirit crystals, handing me 34 crystals and some change. Then he drops 1 actual spirit stone on top for the high-quality Golden Light Talisman. Looking down at a stone the size of a baby's palm, I absolutely cannot hide my joy. That single sheet just multiplied its value 5 times over jumping an entire currency bracket. Maya was beaming right back. A talisman master who creates high-quality work actually has a future. I tucked the spirit stone against my chest. Then I let myself stare just a second too long at the spirit gathering array built into the shop floor. The second that labor tax is paid off, I am getting myself one of those. Heading back, I buy 50 pounds of spirit rice, 10 pounds of demon beast meat, and fresh spirit vegetables. I might cultivate bitterly, but I never cheat my own stomach. That is not just appetite talking. That is cultivation. Back home, I stare at a full rice jar, freshly steamed spirit rice, and a bubbling pot of spirit meat. Honestly, the smell alone puts a smile on my face. If I had eaten spirit meat every single day, I would not have needed 20 years. Sure, my aptitude is genuinely terrible, but 20 years stuck at the chi refining third layer was never just an aptitude problem. It was a money problem. That is the harsh reality for countless cultivators. They look like they trained for 2 decades. In reality, most of that went to running errands and scraping by squeezing cultivation into the tiny gaps. I grab my chopsticks and tear through everything on that table like a force of nature, eating the demon beast meat straight out of the pot. It is more extravagance than I have allowed myself in years. Afterward, wiping the grease from my mouth, I can actually feel the spiritual food working through my body. I think about those great foundation establishment clans. A kid there with a low-grade spiritual root can stroll right to the chi refining middle stage without even breaking stride. It does not matter which world a guy is born into. What some spend an entire lifetime chasing, others are just handed at birth. Spirit rice every day, spirit meat every meal, plus pure diligence on top of it. Suddenly the chi refining fourth layer stops being an impossible mountain. When the spirit stones start rolling in, I am not just eating meat daily. I am buying a storage pouch. Picturing regular meat and my whole life folded away at the flick of a finger, that puts more fire in me than any discipline lecture. The panel shows Everspring Art up 1.2, hitting 490.2 proficiency out of 500. A few days pass in an absolute blur. I open my eyes at home one morning, already smiling. It turns out that visible undeniable progress is insanely addictive. Most of those days, I did absolutely nothing but eat and sleep. Only after 3 full days of heavy recharging did I sit back down to cultivate. And no, that is not laziness. Talisman making devours a man's essence, energy, and spirit. And I got incredibly greedy that night. So it cost me 3 whole days to climb back out of that hole. But I do not regret a single minute. The cheat skill was my catalyst. What kept me at that table until dawn were the pure insights flooding my brain after the Golden Light Talisman broke through. That feeling is straight up intoxicating. Anyone who has ever grabbed a realization like that completely understands. I just kept drawing desperate to burn the sensation into my memory before it faded. So when I finally turned up at the shop, looking completely run into the ground, dark circles and all shopkeeper Maya was not even surprised. What happened to me is exactly what half the cultivator market prays for and never gets. Proficiency in any cultivation technique is really just a measure of understanding. It shows exactly how much of the art a guy has actually comprehended. Those quiet days pushed the Everspring Art up by 1.2. Handing me a whole fistful of insights along with it. The higher the comprehension, the better every single hour of cultivation pays off. So beyond the hard ceiling of spiritual root sets, there is a second variable. Nobody really talks about comprehension ability. 2 men with identical raw talent will end up in completely different places entirely because of it. When I check my realm, chi refining third layer reads 95.1 out of 100. I smile at that little decimal point, like it owes me money. Spirit meat, spirit rice, and spirit stones fueling it all. Suddenly my cultivation moves. I know exactly what is doing the work here. Living this frugally, I could swap my low-grade spiritual root for a high-grade one tomorrow and still crawl. The old saying ranks it as wealth, companions, technique, and land. Wealth sits at the very top for a good reason. Cultivation has honestly only just started for me. So my main priority is spirit stones. First to pay back Lilu, then covering the labor tax. After that, I can finally cultivate in absolute peace. For days, I do not step a single foot outside. I craft talismans and practice chi refining. When my mind is just too worn out to draw, I rest by cultivating instead of wasting a good sheet of material. The days are so packed I forget to even notice them passing. My hands have improved enough to hit 1 high-quality Golden Light Talisman out of every 5 attempts. My success rate rides pretty high on this good mood. And even the normal tedium of chi refining has its hooks in me. Then comes a knock at the door, and a very familiar voice calls out. I open up and greet Old Mano, definitely a rare guest. He is a neighbor and an old friend, and that thin, withered face breaks into its usual smile, missing a few yellow teeth. He tells me not to be so formal since we are neighbors. Then he admits he heard I was heading back to the mortal world, and he has been worried sick. My mouth twitches at that, but I let it slide and wave him inside. Peers are usually rivals, but Old Man Ho specializes in fireball talismans, so there is zero competition between us. Soon as he clears the doorway, his red nose takes a hard sniff and his face changes. He announces he was wondering who was stewing spirit meat every single day, practically drooling himself to death. I offer to feed him later just to see his reaction, but he waves both hands off. He says he is not falling for that no such thing as a free lunch. He plays the cheapskate chasing tiny advantages, but everyone knows he is the shrewdest operator on the street. I brew tea. 2 cups in, his patience completely snaps and he slams his hand flat over the rim. He complains I am way too calm. Says he apparently lived his 60-odd years for absolutely nothing. I laugh. I ask him who in this market does not know he hoards spirit stones just for his grandson. But beneath the teasing, there is something heavier. When Old Man Ho was young, he reached the 6th layer of chi refining. My first hunting team here was his. Then a demon beast ambushed them. The squad was torn to pieces. By the time he could finally walk again, his origin chi was completely ruined. Years piled onto that ruined chi. He is barely past 60, but wears the face of an 80-year-old. Cultivation dropped back to the 5th layer. For a cultivator, aging like that means hidden injuries stacked on top of hidden injuries. That is the price of living by the blade. He leans and asks if I heard the news. The higher-ups are pushing land reclamation harder than ever before. Even the labor tax is jumping to this exact amount. He crosses both index fingers and says the number out loud. 10 spirit stones. I expected it, yet it still hits like a fist. 10 stones bankrupts a normal cultivator, so most will gamble their lives on the reclamation crews instead. I ask him straight up if that is why he came. His own talisman work is nothing to scoff at. He rubs those thin, dry hands together and laughs awkwardly. His grandson actually has decent aptitude. The boy will not rot in this market like him. He plans to send the kid straight to Iwa Palace. Pure pride bleeds through the embarrassment when he says it. He only has the one grandson. Every single spirit stone the old man earns goes straight into laying that boy's foundation. I have envied him for that purpose before. Then he drops it. He came to borrow 2 golden light talismans. My expression hardens. I know exactly why an old man borrows combat talismans. He makes a choked noise and looks away. Nobody meeting him today would believe that 20 years ago, his flaming blade carried serious weight in the blood and iron. Life bent him into the shell sitting across from me. I demand to know if he thinks he is still young or just completely out of his mind. He answers quietly. Reminds me we are both just loose cultivators at heart. If a real opportunity were laid out right in front of me, could I actually walk away? That shuts me up. Strip away my cheat, drop a chance in front of me tonight. And I know exactly what I would do, so I shake my head. Say nothing. I turn his cup back over and pour more tea. He laughs, scolding me to get lost since he is not in the ground yet. Then he spots what is sitting right beside the cup. 2 high-quality golden light talismans. His old eye speed talisman. I look away from them. I just tell him the price is 2 spirit stones. And he better not dare back out on paying me once the job is finished. We stare at each other, then both crack up laughing. In that setting sun, for just one moment, we are young again. A strong man with a heavy blade and a boy fresh to the world. 2 weeks pass with zero word from Old Man Ho. I catch myself hoping he is all right. I owed that old man kindness way before he ever owed me those talismans. Then one morning, the high-quality golden light talisman sitting on my table shuts me up entirely. My panel has golden light at proficient 8 out of 1,000. Godspeed talisman sits at skilled 358 out of 500. The sheet quality is flawless. The success rate is fine. Yet something about that rate feels wrong in a way I cannot immediately name. For a veteran talisman master, 3 or 4 high-quality sheets out of 10 is completely normal, provided his mental state is adjusted. That adjustment is the real catch. It takes calming focus and a whole preparation ritual. Holding that state 2 or 3 times a month is considered an absolute win. I draw a slow breath and grab the brush again. My hands are shaking. My mind is just an absolute mess right now. Zero focus. I dive right back into the work. A pale top-tier golden light talisman lifts off the paper. My heart races, but I keep pushing forward. Most sheets turn out average, while a few hit that high-quality mark. And not once do I pause to catch my breath. I only stop when my chi is almost completely drained. Leaning over the table, gasping for air, I stare at the panel. I start shaking, half shock, half pure joy. The state is permanently locked. That is exactly what this is. Suddenly, everything makes perfect sense. Even the absolute best talisman master alive only hits his peak when his mind is completely calm and focused. When his mental energy drains, he has to stop and rest to find that zone again. I do not. Once I break into that perfect state, I just stay there. As long as my mana holds out, I completely skip the tedious ritual. I keep my absolute highest success rate permanently. Certified once, certified forever. Now all I have to do is put in the hours. Which makes me wonder how many spirit stones I have basically burned in my life. I always feared wasting materials, so I would draw 2 talismans and quit. That is exactly why I never noticed before. My future finally has a clear shape. A regular talisman master, fresh off a breakthrough, pulls off 4 or 5 high-quality Golden Light Talismans a month. And that is only if he holds his focus. I can go all out and produce 10 times that amount, since my only real limits are mental energy and mana. Tenfold means 40 or 50 spirit stones a month. A season ago, I never would have dared say that number out loud. Then reality hits me like cold water. 3 or 4 a month is normal. 5 or 6 looks like a guy with some actual talent who finally broke through his limits. Dropping dozens a month? That screams to every single person in this market that I am sitting on a massive gold mine. The cultivation world is viciously volatile, and I am currently carrying the absolute best talent I have ever heard of. So extreme caution is officially part of the job. I cannot leave money on the table, but I definitely cannot be obvious about grabbing it either. I set the spirit brush down and settle cross-legged on my bed to cultivate. Barely one breath later, I yank the quilt over my head. The blankets shake for a long time, muffling the wild laughter of a 40-year-old man. A month passes. With my materials almost entirely wiped out, I walk right into Jimbo Tower to track down shopkeeper Mayo. He takes one look at 6 high-quality Golden Light Talismans, and his wrinkled face almost splits with joy. While counting out my paper and cinnabar, he jokes that this is just how the 100 arts operate. 0 results no matter the effort, until a breakthrough finally cracks open a whole new world. Then he casually mentions the shop just got a fresh batch of golden marrow pills. He suggests I buy one, hinting it might push me straight through my next bottleneck. He has the exact look of a merchant who just spotted a very fat sheep. I am pretty tempted, but I shake my head and tell him the labor tax has to come first. He nods, adding that a massive wave of foreign loose cultivators have drifted into town lately. They are all just waiting for the authorities to organize the reclamation next spring. The man is a salesman by trade. Once he realizes I am not buying, he pivots straight to gossip. And the rumors are far from comforting. I have been noticing all those unfamiliar faces myself. The Green Bamboo Mountain Market falls under Iwa Palace, and an expanded reclamation always drags loose cultivators in from every direction. It dragged me in 20 years ago on the exact same promises. Then Mayo offhandedly mentions the authorities released 5 slots for the Foundation Establishment pill this time. That number hits my chest like ice water. The reclamation I joined as a young man only dangled 2 Foundation Establishment pills, and it left corpses scattered across half the mountain. He warns me to watch my back in the coming months. Foreign loose cultivators are the absolute least governable men alive. Opportunities like this are usually things a man has the life to chase, but rarely the life to actually enjoy. He shakes his head at the market's grim future. So I slap down the spirit stones I haven't even finished warming in my pocket. Give me 1 golden marrow pill, I tell him, and 1 storage pouch. 5 spirit stones hit his counter. 2 for the pill, 3 for the pouch. Shopkeeper Mayo instantly lights up like a festival lantern. He promises to pick out the absolute best pill in the batch, and even throws in a free stack of talisman paper. With my solid foundation, and the Everspring Arts habit of building up before erupting, he swears this pill will carry me straight through. I walk out of that shop clutching an exquisite storage pouch and a jade bottle, stepping straight into a cool breeze in a noisy market. Money earned in this place is money spent in this place. Not a single coin of it ever actually makes it back home. I laugh at myself, but I stay grateful anyway. His warning was entirely real, even if the main goal was just to empty my purse. Cultivation boosting pills always sell well, and they will sell even harder with this many strangers around. Walking among all those unfamiliar faces, my nerves tighten with every single block. I remember the last great reclamation far too well. An influx of loose cultivators means opportunity and absolute chaos rolling in on the exact same cart. The fragile peace in this market is about to shatter. A few outsiders always hang around, but they never shift the vibe. Only the veterans know what a crowd this massive actually means. It puts me on a strict clock. I need that chi refining middle stage under my belt. At that point, I can actually protect myself. I sigh my way down the street, totally zoned out. Before I know it, I hit a pavilion covered in carved beams and painted rafters. 2 massive red lanterns hang right over the door. A dim pink glow bleeds out into broad daylight. 2 young female cultivators step outside mid-yawn. They spot a regular and their faces instantly light up. The first one calls my name. She brags that her sisters could not even stand straight the day after my last visit. Then she offers a sweet discount, begging me to come inside for hot tea. The second girl says she heard I craft high-quality Golden Light Talismans now. She asks how bitter cultivation compares to an afternoon with them. They wear thin red palace dresses, practically light as cicada wings. Both still carry that lazy fatigue of women who just woke up. Between the pretty faces, the figures, and their cultivation charm, they are seriously hard to ignore. But their eyes hold the exact look shopkeeper Maya wore an hour ago. I clear my throat and say today is no good. I explain I still have to pay Lilu back, and that it will have to wait for another day. Sure, I cultivate bitterly, but I totally believe in balancing work and rest. Right now just is not the time. Her voice chases me down the street, teasing that tea costs 0 spirit crystals. That sounds exactly like something a heart demon would say. I keep walking. My will is iron, and I just want to go home and test my storage pouch. These pink skeletons are not cracking my Tao heart today. I want Lilu's spirit crystals off my conscience the second he returns. So I swing by his place first and find nobody home. Instead, I grab 10 pounds of demon beast meat on the walk back. Later, I stay awake half the night. I keep tossing my green bamboo sword into the storage pouch and pulling it right back out, grinning the entire time. I could have afforded one years ago but held off. It was a luxury a guy in my position had absolutely no business wanting. Today is different. But looking at the finished talismans stacked on my table, my face goes dead serious again. Peddling high-quality goods openly at my cultivation level is a massive risk. A smart man builds his strength before he advertises his product. I am no longer that bottom-rung loose cultivator who used to bleed for a miserable handful of spirit crystals. Life is supposed to move forward. I sleep with the storage pouch in my arms. I sleep extremely well. A few days later, the doors and windows of my house are completely papered over with golden light talismans. I sit cross-legged in the center. My hands are sealed, palms and soles turned entirely toward the sky. I circulate the wood element Everspring art until the line between myself and the world blurs. That day, I finally hit the critical breakthrough point. It hits like thunder, heavy but completely silent. The invisible shackles shatter. Every single inch of my skin feels like it is cheering, flooded with a bottomless rush of pure energy. The mana inside me surges wildly. I lock my mind steady, pushing the Everspring art through several cycles until everything finally calms down. I exhale a long breath of foul air and open my eyes to a totally different life. 20 years of cultivation, 40 years old. I finally reached the chi refining middle stage. The fourth layer is the threshold. I stand on the other side of it now, flooded with too many feelings at once. Most of them are not exactly happy either. So this is the middle stage. People always say the chi refining fourth layer is the first genuine step toward immortality. Now I finally get why. My 5 senses are instantly sharper. My mind clears up, and blurry memories from both of my lifetimes are suddenly distinct enough to physically touch. Sharp ears, bright eyes, marrow cleansed, and wisdom completely opened. That is the absolute, honest difference between a standard cultivator and an immortal. My mana is much denser, and I have double the reserves. The system panel confirms it all. My lifespan now reads 40 out of 98 years. My realm hit chi refining 4th layer at 0 out of 100. My Everspring art reached proficient at 8 out of 1000. The realm reset is pretty standard. That extra decade of life makes total sense, since wood element techniques like the Everspring art are famous for extending lifespans and delaying aging. What actually shocks me is that the Everspring art broke through alongside me. Hitting the 4th layer radically deepened my grasp of the technique. Since that realization came from my own body instead of some ancient scroll, the panel rewarded me. Technique proficiency simply tracks how deeply a guy understands his skills. In plain speak, that is pure comprehension ability, beyond the hard ceiling my spiritual root dictates. That is what governs how fast I climb. A deep enough understanding can make up for the massive gap my terrible talent left behind. I go by spirit fruits I normally never let myself eat. A major breakthrough deserves a real celebration. Back to the usual routine. Talismans and cultivation. Plus a new habit sitting around and turning the Everspring art over in my mind whenever I get a free hour. Half a month goes by. Lei Yu finally comes home and turns up at my door, grinning with 2 jugs of spirit wine under his arm. He steps inside, scans the room out of habit, and stops dead at the demon beast meat stewing with precious spirit fruits on my table. 20 years ago, he'd have completely missed it. He doesn't miss it now. He swings around and says I've broken through. He can see it on me. An aura he can't read anymore, where my 3rd layer of key refining used to be transparent to him at a glance. I tell him I bought a golden marrow pill at Jinbo Tower a while back and just got lucky. I fail completely to keep the corners of my mouth down. He pounds my shoulder. Says now the 2 of us can cultivate side by side in this market until we're old men. Time changes people, but Lei Yu is still the same honest man he always was. He sets the wine down, declaring 2 jugs the exact right amount for celebrating. A close friend is pretty rare in the cultivation world. We lay out the stewed meat and spirit fruits, without even needing to discuss it. I hand back the spirit crystals I borrowed, saving me another trip across the market. We pour. Drink the first cup straight down without a single word. Only then do the chopsticks move. Lei Yu tells me it isn't just his opinion. My talisman art improved, and then my cultivation broke through. That's the Everspring art doing exactly what it's famous for. My road ahead is genuinely promising. I nod and take the compliment. I see no reason to be modest about a breakthrough, and there's no audience worth performing for anyway. To a great cultivator at the late stage of chi refining, it wouldn't even merit a sentence. But to loose cultivators who came up from the bottom, every inch is worth a cup. 3 rounds in, his face flushes red and he gets to the real subject. He says my craftsmanship on high-quality Golden Light Talismans already proves I have the hands for medium-grade first-tier work. And with my cultivation where it is now, I should be thinking about making that jump sooner rather than later. I tell him seriously that I understand. Everything I've ever made, high quality or not, is low-grade first tier, and calling it infinitely close to medium-grade first tier doesn't actually close the gap. As anyone can tell from the market prices, every talisman-making method in open circulation is low-grade first tier. Everything above that is locked up by the cultivation families and the sects. Nobody lets a precious thing wander around loose. Lei Yu looks simple, but he's nothing of the kind. When we catch each other's eye, we both just smile. Neither of us says the obvious part out loud. A method like that is going to cost me. At my age, joining a sect is completely out of the question. The best I could hope for is a post as a talisman master inside some sect-run business. Or else, I go over to one of the cultivation families. Lei Yu wasn't subtle about which family he meant. The beast-taming Jew family holds a talisman-making legacy of its own. Makes sense for a house with several hundred years behind it. Staring out at the night sky afterward, I frown and then just laugh at myself. Only half a year ago, I was scraping by for spirit crystals. Now I'm scheming to get my hands on a medium-grade first-tier method. People are greedy by nature. That step up from low-grade first-tier already moved my prices from spirit crystals into actual spirit stones. And medium-grade first-tier starts at 3 spirit stones a sheet. Those methods do exist out there, held by a tiny fraction of cultivators, only surfacing at an auction now and then. The trouble with signing onto a family is that a man stops owning his own hours. Still, a reclamation on this scale means 2 or 3 unsettled years ahead. And unsettled years make the families pretty generous with their terms. I work all that over while my hands stay busy, sending the green bamboo sword into the storage pouch, then calling it right back out again. When the night gets deep enough that the market goes dead quiet, I decide the black market is worth a visit, partly on the chance of a lucky find. Mostly just to turn goods into spirit crystals. I load up the thick stack of low-grade first-tier Godspeed talismans I've built up. The green bamboo sword goes in right after them. All that practice was never about novelty. It was about learning exactly where the sword sits, so my hand can find it without even thinking. Nobody at the middle stage of key refining bothers with cheap talismans a pauper buys, unless he's badly short on money. Standing at the mirror, I let my face crawl. My frame shifts right along with it. What looks back at me is a slab of scarred flesh with a vicious jaw. Absolutely nothing like the man who lives here. It's been years since I used that trick, and I'm pretty pleased to find it still fits. Before I ever touched cultivation, I trained in the martial arts down in the mortal world. Since the whole point of learning letters and arms is to sell them to an emperor, I went to the capital. What I found there instead, by pure blind luck, was Elder Yuke the Immortal Master, standing right in a prince's mansion. Every single thing since started on that one afternoon. Still, I never take chances. I run my breath concealment technique at the proficient level. It pins my aura right down to chi refining second layer, enough to fool anyone below the 6th. Next goes the black robe, a bamboo hat, and a plain mortal sword grabbed straight off the hook by the door. Out past the edge of the market, shadowy figures are already slipping through a shanty town. This is the black market. The place you go to fence things that cannot stand the daylight or stuff you would rather nobody knew you even had. Stall fees here cost practically nothing. Demon beast meat, talisman, medicinal pill, even the occasional magical artifact will surface in the dirt. People show up in a hurry with their heads down, by speaking in whispers and vanish. Because cheap stalls buy exactly as much safety as you pay for. The whole setup lasts exactly 2 hours a night. It completely empties out the moment dawn hits. Nobody shouts a single word, so every stall just props up a sign. One offers demon beast meat 12 pounds for a spirit crystal. Another sells fireball talismans at 2 spirit crystals each or 6 for 10. I drop my 1 spirit crystal. The shadowed face under my bamboo hat sends a lot of eyes straight to the dirt as I walk past. It's my own signless low-grade first-tier Godspeed talismans. 2 spirit crystals apiece or 6 for 10. Talismans are consumable specifically, the kind that actually keep a man breathing. Speed and defense are permanently in short supply. I barely finished setting up my spot when a guy in a bamboo hat dropped 10 spirit crystals, muttering only the count. I hand over 6 Godspeed talismans without saying a single word back. I could easily offer 7 for 10 and clear my whole stack in minutes. But that is exactly the sort of generosity that gets a guy remembered. Standing out requires actual strength to back it up. Until you have that kind of power, blending in is how you stay alive. While minding the stall, I watch the crowd. I know this place intimately. I lived out here for 5 years before I could afford moving inward. The recent reclamation has driven the population up threefold at least. Everything on the outer perimeter is shifting fast. My talismans sell out in under an hour, but instead of relief, I feel a knot of worry. More cultivators means more outsiders. Outsiders just do not stick to the rules. I have watched this same cycle turn several times over 20 years. That makes me an old-timer around here. Mostly it just makes me deeply grateful I no longer sleep on the outskirts. I pack up and push deeper inside to see if anyone is actually selling a genuine medium-grade first-tier talisman manual. My mouth twists into a scowl after just one lap. I was optimistic in the absolute wrong direction. The problem is not that manuals are missing. It is that there are way too many of them. Talisman manuals, alchemy formulas, artifact refining texts, array diagrams all laid out on the dirt. They are priced anywhere from a few spirit crystals to well over 10 spirit stones. With all these outsiders flooding in, the local veterans have set up shop just to fleece them. So between reckless visitors ignoring the rules and greedy residents cheating, everyone here is somebody's mark. Nobody sane buys blind since you cannot verify anything. Plus, a guy who gets cheated will never find the seller again the very next night. An experienced eye can usually judge the pages a seller reveals. Except the real professionals show a genuine opening section and fill the rest with absolute garbage, none of which stops a fresh crop of cultivators from diving in every single year, dreaming of flying swords and foundation establishment. I flip through a great many manuals, every single one is fake. Eventually, I have to admit that fables about stumbling onto lost treasure in a back alley live only in stories. Medium-grade first-tier methods really are rare goods. Out of pure stubbornness, I walk one more lap, then finally give up. Stolen goods do surface occasionally. Some unlucky talisman master or his disciple gets killed and stripped, and their life's work ends up tossed on a blanket in the dark. But not tonight, and definitely not for me. So I leave before dawn, keeping my feet firmly planted on the ground where they belong. 3 guys start following me right out of the black market. One tells his older brother that I am the guy. Says he watched me wander 3 full circuits without buying a thing. Nobody walks a black market just for fun. In their minds, a guy who buys nothing has 0 money. And a man with no money has weak cultivation. And a guy with weak cultivation is basically a sheep. Along the gray, misted street, several rogue foreign cultivators stand around sizing up everyone leaving the market. I feel the heavy weight of their eyes on me the exact instant I clear the last stall. One of them walks toward me with his head kept down. He brushes past and a hand slides eply straight into my robe. I catch his wrist. The face that snaps up is young. It instantly panics at whatever it catches a glimpse of under my hat. He stammers an apology for his poor judgment while his other hand goes straight for the sword at my waist. 2 shapes at the roadside pivot toward me. Repeat offenders, working a crew. One man locks down the weapon, 2 close in for the kill. But the green bamboo sword answers before he even finishes speaking. That apology is still sitting unused on his face when my blade goes straight through his mouth. He never even understands how it happened. One of them loses his mind over the green bamboo sword and the externalized mana. He screams that I am an old middle-stage chi-refining ghost, telling his partner to run. I do not give either of them the chance. The blade sweeps through and the light simply fades out of 2 more pairs of disbelieving eyes. They spent their last seconds believing they had been so careful that they only targeted the poor. But a man who walks the riverbank often enough is bound to soak his shoes. A middle-stage veteran playing the role of a second-layer novice, just baiting starving men for sport. Local cultivators truly are insidious. That entire exchange, from their opening strike to my counterattack, including the mana shield I remembered to raise, takes less than a single breath. Every shadow lurking in that alley waiting to profit, or just watch sees that glowing mana shield. It is the unmistakable mark of the middle stage. They scatter. I scoff at their retreating backs. Just 4 stray cultivators who cannot follow the rules, playing the part of a fearsome old man for the local audience. A sharp gust of wind sweeps down the street, and I vanish just as fast. 3 cooling bodies are the only things left under the gray sky. They will be stripped bare before the sun clears the mountains. Out here in the cultivation world, even a corpse has good resale value. I take a winding route home, beating the dawn. First thing I do, slap high-quality golden light talismans across my door and every single window. 20-odd spirit crystals. That is the entire haul from 3 men who thought they were robbing me. 1 at the 3rd layer of chi refining, 2 at the 2nd. Honestly, I cannot decide whether to call them utterly fearless or just incredibly stupid. With that kind of garbage judgment, something fatal was bound to happen to them eventually. I do not hate outsiders. I just despise cultivators who break the rules and wreck the peace. The black market operates by its own rules. When those fracture, the first people to bleed are always the guys with the lowest cultivation base. 20 years in, I have seen it often enough to just be tired of it, rather than shaken. Safely at home, I strip off the bloody clothes and put my real face back on, staring down at the spirit crystals in my storage pouch. Yeah, the risk was worth it. Low-grade first-tier Godspeed talismans completely escape the notice of middle-stage cultivators. Only desperate, low-level outsiders even want them. They did have sharp eyes, though, recognizing that green bamboo sword. 20 years ago, when this market was starting, Ipa Palace dumped hundreds of low-grade green bamboo swords into circulation. So one flash of green light, a scarred face, pure killing intent, and middle-stage mana. In a terrified man's head, that adds up to a veteran who has walked these dangerous nights since before he was born. Then I look at my own doors and windows, completely plastered with high-quality golden light talismans. The sheer absurdity of it actually forces me to sit down. I never imagined I would live to see the day my biggest problem was drawing too many talismans. Every single one of those sheets could be a spirit stone. Instead, they sit cold in my pouch or glued to the woodwork. Now I finally understand what it costs to hold something valuable and not dare sell it. Until I secure a safe channel, the black market gets nothing from me except low-grade first-tier Godspeed talismans. Just for the sake of survival, I am deliberately dropping my grade, settling for spirit crystals when actual spirit stones are right there. It hurts every time. Past the 4th layer, I only get hungrier for the work. Cultivate, draw talismans, eat demon beast meat, sleep. Repeat. It is a shut-in routine that would bore anyone else senseless, but it never once bores me. Outside on the street, a guy steps out his door and catches the rich scent of stewing demon beast meat. He asks who is cooking that right now, and whether they worry about the heat it puts in the body. It is not that cultivators cannot afford meat. It is that demon beast meat costs actual spirit crystals. Anyone who just wants meat can walk right past the wall and hunt an ordinary animal. His neighbor shushes him. That smell is coming straight from Talisman Master Im's house. The name drops and pure envy follows right behind it. He repeats that tired old line how an unranked talisman master is basically worth less than a dog, but a talisman master who finds his path. He rakes in spirit crystals faster than those men ever could out hunting. The neighbor quickly corrects him. Spirit crystals are not the point. A high-quality talisman is worth an entire spirit stone. Once Talisman Master M picks up medium-grade first-tier work, he will start pulling 3 spirit stones per sheet. Nearly every living cultivator can scribble out a basic talisman, but one who can draw high-quality work is 1 in 1,000. Then Lilu pounds on my door in a panic. Grief covers his face as he tells me Elder Ook has passed away. The news hits hard, taking 20 years with it. Elder Ook was the immortal master who led us into the cultivation world. When we failed our assessment, he did not just wash his hands of us. He actually pointed out a road we could still walk. I tell Lilu we have to go see him off. Master and disciple is a formal title, and we were never quite that. But a man who hands a stranger a second life earns the title anyway, regardless of what some register says. The letter reached Lilu first. A live-in son-in-law has a fixed address, and the beast-taming Jew family is a pretty stable place to send word. A first-tier loose cultivator like me might bounce between 3 homes in a single decade. Changsu Bay is the nearest cultivator settlement to the Green Bamboo Mountain Market. It sits under Iwa Palace like everything else out here, and Elder Yuk lived there. We leave the moment the news drops. Lilu calls back over his shoulder that we are almost in. By then, we have run spirit steeds day and night, putting 3,000 miles behind us in just 3 days. These steeds are domesticated demon beasts. A son-in-law of the beast-taming Jew family can borrow a pair without much trouble at all. But being a son-in-law also means he had to file word with the family before he was even allowed to step out of the market. Hooves strike crisp against the street while the sky is still bleeding gray. And Lilu tells me we made it. We dismount in front of Changsu Bay Market. It is built right along a river bend, and noticeably emptier than the market I live in. Before stepping through the gate formation, we have to prove who we are. We show our jade plaques. That is what they call a travel permit out here. The scenery pulls at us both. 20 years ago, after we failed the selection, Elder Yuk brought us here, taught us for 2 months before recommending us to the Green Bamboo Mountain Market. Travel-worn and entirely unwashed, we walk to his house. White funeral banners hang heavy in the little courtyard, and there are hardly any people standing around. Lilu and I step through the gate and see the memorial tablet in the morning hall. Neither of us manages to keep our eyes dry. We offer incense, kneel, and press our foreheads against the ground. We tell him we came late. 20 years gone in one blink. Elder Yuk cultivated the Everspring art and lived to 138. Dying peacefully in your sleep counts as an incredibly rare piece of luck in the cultivation world. Someone greets us both by name. Our faces actually light up because it is Shim Rial. He used to be a young marquis, but he never once put on airs about it. He comes over looking subdued, pulls us aside, and mentions that the county princess is also here. She is inside comforting junior sister Yuk. Li Lu is openly astonished. Word on the street is the little county princess became an intersect disciple of Iwa Palace. Now, the four of us who went up that mountain together were County Princess Anyo, young Marcus Shim Rial, Prince's household swordsman named Mjangen, and a farm boy named Li Lu. Junior sister Yuki is elder Yuk's granddaughter. Shim Rial says with genuine feeling that he never expected the two of us to reach the chi refining middle stage. I cup my hands and tell him we are nothing next to him. That is simple arithmetic since he stands at chi refining 5th layer. By years I am the oldest. Li Lu comes next and Shim Rial is the youngest. The cultivation world counts strength before birthdays, so we call him brother and actually mean the respect. He says all he ever heard was that we had gone off to the green bamboo mountain market. Yet here we are 2 full decades later. All three of us drew low-grade spiritual roots, and all three of us got rejected. The difference was that his family had connections. His cultivation resources were never anything like ours. Every mortal dynasty has a major sect standing right behind it. While the three of us talk quietly about the years we missed, the courtyard starts filling up in a way a quiet man's funeral simply should not. Shim Rial dips his head with a thin, contemptuous smile and explains through voice transmission. Every one of these people is calling themselves a classmate or a beneficiary of Elder Yuk's kindness, all because they heard County Princess Anyo came. That lands hard. With it comes a memory of a small girl carved out of jade, who talked exactly like a woman of 40. Anyo is an intersect disciple of Ewa Palace. She holds a high-grade spiritual root. Her water affinity is said to sit just one step short of earthly spiritual root aptitude. Inside a sect like Ewa Palace, she might not rank as a peerless prodigy. But to men like us, she is completely untouchable. They file in one after another to offer condolences. Some are melancholy and genuinely grateful for what Elder Yuk did for them. Others announce without a shred of embarrassment that he set them on the immortal path too, which apparently makes them classmates. The contempt has faded from Shim Rial's face by then, replaced by a comfortable grief he wears while working the room. He tells us via voice transmission that County Princess Anyo has already reached the chi refining 9th layer. She has begun preparing for the sect competition. Foundation establishment is a very strong probability for her. Li Lu and I look at each other, the same heavy envy showing on both our faces. 4 of us walked onto this road on the exact same morning. Now 1 is planning foundation establishment, while 2 of us have barely scraped into the middle stage. That is exactly what a spiritual root is worth. The back doors swing open. Every hushed piece of networking in that courtyard dies at once. Yuk Chong Chong steps out slowly in white mourning clothes. Grief is written plainly across her face. She looks exactly like a girl from a modest household. But nobody is looking at her. She thanks the crowd for coming to honor Elder Yuk. Her voice is cold, carrying a natural nobility that she never had to be taught. County Princess Anyo wears plain, close-cut clothes. Her brows arch like distant green peaks, framing a delicate beauty made freezing by her heroic bearing. The sorrow radiating from her is absolutely real. That little girl carved out of jade is completely gone now. The room greets her as a fairy and fellow Daoist. Men who once took guidance from Elder Yuk shamelessly call her junior sister. Her cultivation runs deep, flowing with a pure water attribute. She still looks just like a girl, so nobody dares to call her senior sister. Everyone here is old enough to know better than to try. Princess was only ever a name the 4 of us called her back then. Everyone standing in that courtyard wears sorrow, and there is just no telling how much of it is genuine. A funeral that should have stayed quiet turns into a mob. All because a late-stage chi refining intersect disciple of Iwa Palace happens to be standing there. I get another honest look at the brutal world I live in. Only after the burial does the courtyard finally fall quiet again. Li Yu and I know exactly where we stand in this hierarchy. We hang back in the crowd until Elder Yuk is buried in the ground. We are heading out when Shimriel stops us. He says the county princess invited us to Chizen Tower. I am openly startled, and Li Yu looks close to full panic. He held the lowest station of any of us. Now he is being asked to sit with a woman preparing for foundation establishment. The distance between us has not narrowed in 20 years. It has completely blown wide open. Shimriel reads our faces and casually says it is just a reunion. He tells us the princess seems cold but remains genuinely kind. He reminds us the 4 of us once agreed to meet every 5 years. That never happened. We were stuck far away at the Green Bamboo Mountain Market. He was traveling with royal cultivators, and she was locked inside her sect. Suddenly that old agreement comes rushing back to me intact. 4 kids from different stations, freshly dropped into the cultivation world. We stood at a crossroads, swearing to meet every 5 years, because none of us could handle saying goodbye. What we actually managed was, letters, and then not even letters. The promise turned into something we only believed, because we were young enough to still believe in things out here. A man rarely controls his own fate. Distance kills whatever good intentions survive. Chisen Tower gives us a heaven-grade private room. 5 of us sit around one single table. Anyo, Shimriel, Liu, myself, and my boy sat the sect assessment in our batch, but he arrived as the descendant of Elder Yuk's close friend. We only met him at the foot of the mountain. The other 4 of us crawled up out of the mortal world together. He was not originally invited, but someone pointed out that he had come to see Elder Yuk, and technically counts as our former classmate. Shimriel tells Anyo not to decline the seat of honor. Since the cultivation world respects pure strength, she takes it without argument, sitting straight back. 20 years have completely stripped the youth out of all 5 faces at that table. Hers has changed the most. In our eyes, she has become a truly great cultivator, standing at chi refining perfection. Shimriel raises his cup, eyes shining red. He says we should drink to ourselves first, just for being able to gather at all after 20 long years. Only people who fought their way through this brutal world truly understand its bitter taste. The fact that all 5 of us are still breathing makes us luckier than most of the guys we started out with. Nobody makes a grand speech. Even Anyo's cold expression shifts a tiny fraction as she drinks. I empty my cup with more raw feeling inside me than I know how to handle. After a round of drinks, the strangeness between us finally starts thinning out. When they learn Li Yu broke through inside the Jew family and fathered a son with a spiritual root, Shimriel and Y-Boy are both completely amazed. The farm boy with the lowest station out of us all quietly put down roots that will outlive him. And even a young Marquis lets a little bit of envy show. Shimriel admits that if he had only known, he would have followed us to the Green Bamboo Mountain Market back then. Stuck at chi refining 5th layer, he is the only one who knows what these bitter years cost him. Then Y-Boy turns to me with a smile. He asks, in a tone of completely manufactured surprise, if he heard right, am I really preparing to head back down to the mortal world? Anyo and Shimriel both frown at that. Y-Boy was always arrogant toward the 4 of us who came up from the mortal world 20 years ago. 2 long decades have improved him only very selectively. He definitely avoids using that tone on the county princess, or the young Marquis, and he has even dropped it with Li Yu. Li Yu just glares across the table at him. I-Boy was the guy he liked least back then, and absolutely nothing has changed today. He tells him flatly that he has it all wrong. I am already proficient at low-grade, first-tier, high-quality talismans, which is much more than can be said for some half-baked alchemist. I just smile and take it from there. I tell them I never planned on returning. That letting go of the obsession was exactly when the epiphany hit, and everything finally made sense. But while I am talking, I am doing the math. Only 2 people actually knew I was giving up. Lilu and Elder Yuke, since I wrote it in a letter. It definitely was not Lilu, and the old man was not the type to gossip. But Y-Boy has struggled lately, and Elder Yuke died, leaving a massive estate behind. I keep my expression totally pleasant. The county princess is sitting right here. Protecting his granddaughter is not going to be hard at all. The words settle over the room and nobody here is stupid. They all get what it means. I have the skill to learn medium-grade first-tier talismans. Y-Boy turns a laugh, admits he misspoke, and downs his cup to apologize. Guys like him switch faces the way other men change their grip. Then Anyo turns her gaze on me. Something ancient shifts behind her eyes, and she asks what I plan to do next about medium-grade first-tier talismans. She calls me Big Brother when she asks, and my heart actually skips a beat. I tell her the market is expanding, and I plan to look into the Jew family. I was already planning to ask Lilu about it on the way back home. Now that the topic is out there, I have no reason to hide it. Lilu lights up at the idea of seeing me around every day again. Shimriel raises his glass to congratulate me early. A medium-grade first-tier talisman master easily outranks a chi-refining 5th layer cultivator, and he knows it. Anyo says it is for the best, but I honestly have no idea what she is thinking. So I raise my cup and make a simple suggestion. Since we are all cultivators, we should drop the worldly titles and simply call each other fellow Taoist from here on out. I look right at Shimriel when I say it, but every single person at that table knows exactly who it is actually addressed to. He agrees immediately. He hopes we are still calling each other fellow Taoist 100 years from now, and the room instantly warms up around him. Anyo gives me a very long, quiet look over those words about being a big brother. Then she is the first to call me fellow Taoist. I keep smiling, but inwardly I let out a heavy sigh. It is not cowardice, it is pure survival mileage. Out here, one careless moment turns fatal. And a female cultivator with incredible talent, high cultivation, and a face like hers attracts massive trouble. A guy in my position would barely survive just standing next to her. Reaching foundation establishment is genuinely possible for me now. I cannot afford to become a target on the way up. My cheat gave me an endless future, not the raw power to fight out of my weight class. A man with that much road ahead of him simply cannot be reckless. Why Boy jumps back into the conversation, and we all start exchanging cultivation tips and trading weird stories from the martial world. Eventually, it winds down. We walk out of Twisson Tower, wish each other an evergreen path to immortality, and split up. Meanwhile, up in the attic of Twisson Tower, Enyo watches us disappear from the window. She asks Yuk Chong Chong, who steps out from behind a screen, what she thought. The girl beside her has incredibly steady eyes. She answers quietly Sister Enyo had told her before that I was the best fit. But what she saw today was a man who never surrendered, even after 20 years of grueling practice. A man whose Tao heart is rock solid and terrible for starting a family. She is not blind or foolish about her own limits. She knows she only has a low-grade spiritual root. If she climbs too high without real capital, she just becomes pure decoration. Then she brings up Why Boy. He returned to Changgu Bay 2 years ago and kept visiting constantly, leaning entirely on an old family friendship. His eyes, she states bluntly, are locked right on the estate. Elder Yuk only reached Chi refining 7th layer, but a long lifetime gathers assets and heavy connections. Why Boy lost his father early. He built absolutely nothing out in the real world, and now he wants to take the entire lot. She shakes her head and explains the rest. When my letter arrived, her grandfather sighed over the news. Why Boy overheard a tiny fragment of that sigh, and his whole table performance today was built on it. She points out that even a genius like Sister Anyo moves carefully through this world. Acting reckless like him is just an open invitation for disaster. A crooked heart is survivable. But a crooked heart combined with zero self-awareness is what actually gets a man killed. Enyo nods and sighs that she is absolutely right. Cultivation world changes constantly, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. The granddaughter of Elder Yuk has zero grand ambitions. She only wants a steady life. She does not even hold the greed against. Why Boy, mostly because half the cultivation world covets something. But watching him operate today just left her incredibly disappointed. Lilu was honest and steady. He would have been the obvious choice, except he married into the Jew family 2 decades ago, scratching him entirely off the list. If I actually heard any of this, I would just want to lie down. 20 years ago, the Jew family rejected me as a son-in-law because of my face. And today I get rejected because my Tao heart is way too firm. Meanwhile, Lilu tops every single list just on the strength of being reliable. There is zero fairness in this world at any altitude. Yuk Chong Chong thinks it over. Then she tells Sister Un softly the young Marquis is smooth, great with people, and knows exactly when to press or withdraw. He is not weighed down by ambition, and her grandfather's old connections will fade with time regardless. Maybe she and Shimrial could build a merchant guild together. They could earn Sister Un some spirit stones for her cultivation. Unyo asks whether she has decided. She says she has, smiling, because her absolute greatest talent is knowing exactly what she is. Right now, her only support is Unyo. And that support fades the moment the supporter leaves. So the time to hold on is now. Handled properly, this preserves everything her grandfather built. And if Unyo truly hits foundation establishment, the backing behind her only grows heavier. Adding flowers to a bouquet is easy. Carrying charcoal through the snow is not. Unyo agrees to introduce her to Shimriel. She says the rest is up to fate, smiling as she says it. She is far too careful a woman to have missed even a single one of those calculations. That instinct for advancing and retreating keeps Elder Yuk's only descendant from becoming an awkward problem. Truth is, the best candidate was actually me. Yuk Chong Chong tucks a loose hair behind her temple. She glances sideways at Sister Un while thinking it over. Meanwhile, Unyo keeps staring out the window looking at a street where that figure has been gone for a long time. She just lets whatever was in her eyes slowly drain away. Girlhood sentiment burned off years ago through her growth and experience, especially aimed at a man who dropped right out of the clouds. What she did not find today was the mediocrity she braced for, because those confident dark eyes are exactly what she remembers. The gap between them now, though, she just smiles at it. She stays indifferent, filing the whole thing away as just one more scene along the road. Because there is only one thing standing in her heart now: foundation establishment. We ride out of Changgu Bay on spirit steeds borrowed from the beast-taming Jew family. And for once, there is absolutely no reason to hurry. Lilu pretty much treats it like a holiday. He spends the first stretch of the road telling me the little county princess is a genuinely decent person, saying she never once looked down on either of us. He says it like that settles the matter forever. I have nothing to say to that. The girl grew up while we were not looking. A grown mind is complicated, no matter what the face covering it might suggest. She arrived at Changgu Bay. Within a single day, the whole market knew exactly how many people had shown up just to see her. I have lived 2 lives now, and I have never once seen that kind of news travel by accident. It reads purely as a matter of calculated interest. Unyo walked right out of that gathering with a solid reputation for good character. The sect cannot hold many quotas for the foundation establishment pill. Filter out every disciple with a family behind them, a legacy under them, or connections above them, and what remains is incredibly thin. Unyo carries a high-grade spiritual root just like the rest of that crowd. It buys her absolutely nothing in that room. A reputation for good character might not decide everything, but it beats sitting perfectly still and hoping. That is the cold reading, born out of 2 decades of habit. The warm reading is that nothing in her manner actually looked put on. So I just changed the subject to the part Lilu will actually enjoy. I tell him it is good that she did not look down on us. Once fellow Taoist reaches foundation establishment, we might stand close enough to catch some warmth. He goes totally soft at once. He tells me that in all his years inside the beast-taming Jew family, he has seen exactly one foundation establishment cultivator, and only from a distance. Then he adds that we cannot keep calling her the little county princess anymore. The child in his memory is already being painted over by the chi-refining 9th layer cultivator, the one who stood in front of us with her chin held high. I laugh under my breath and go right back to the manual resting in my lap, just reading off the back of a moving spirit steed. It holds Elder Yuck's own working notes on the Everspring art, written down while he was a chi-refining late-stage cultivator. His experience surfaces in my head as I read, and something quietly rearranges itself. My panel moves along with it. The Everspring art gains 10 points, and the proficiency now reads 23 out of 1,000. So, the proficiency of a cultivation technique can be driven up fast using borrowed experience. That means the exact same trick has to work on talisman making. Practicing all alone is just fumbling around a dark room with both hands out. A late-stage cultivator's notebook is basically somebody in that dark room telling me exactly where the furniture is. This manual is the real haul from our trip. Yuck Chong Chong handed it over in Elder Yuck's name on the exact morning we left. What she actually gave Lilu was a bedroom art called Dragon Playing with Pearl. Just something the old man picked up by complete accident. Lilu holds the original copy. Mine is not. Mine is penned in a careful, elegant hand, and the ink still carries a faint trace of orchid, which means Yuk Chong Chong actually sat down and copied the entire thing by hand before giving it away. She is one meticulous junior sister. I have no idea what she handed to Shimriel and Anyo, and neither does Lilu. We are both already fond of a woman we barely even spoke to. Even Wei Wei, who left that trip with all his plans ruined, is probably thinking kindly of her. Honestly, that is a rarer skill than talisman drawing. Once we cross the boundary of the market safe zone, I tuck the manual away in my storage pouch. Out here, being careless is just a slower way to die. Lilu notices the pouch and asks if it is really one of them, unable to hide the sheer envy on his face. He has seen them around before. The asking price is 3 spirit stones, and it is not like he cannot afford it. It is about whether those 3 spirit stones go into cultivation or get spent wisely elsewhere. I tell him not to worry, a day will come when he finally owns one himself. He waves both hands, saying if he had 3 spirit stones, he would rather buy dozens of pounds of high-grade demon beast meat and just eat his way up the ranks. He has 0 talent for talisman making, and that one single fact creates the massive distance between us. We both stand at the 4th layer of chi refining, yet the gap between a cultivator with a trade and one without is still absolutely massive. Once I can draw a first-grade medium-tier talisman, a single sheet sells for over 3 spirit stones. That is over a dozen low-grade spirit stones a month, even after material costs. Lelu has no trade. The lucky ones in his shoes marry into a clan like the beast-taming Jew family, collecting a few spirit stones a month from their arrangements. Which is exactly what he did. Everyone else walks out into the wilderness to hunt demon beasts, trading a daily chance of death for cultivation resources. The returns on that kind of work can be extraordinary. So can the funerals. The mountains slowly close in around the road, home to the Green Bamboo Mountain Market. There is a very good reason they are called the beast-taming Jew family, and that reason is currently moving right underneath me. A spirit steed covers 1,000 miles a day, treating rivers and steep mountainsides like flat roads. Riding out, we push day and night, reaching Changgu Bay in 3 days. Heading back, we take our time. The market is still a full day ahead. Then the shape of the terrain changes. I frown and call his name. Lilu has his hand on his broadsword before the second syllable even lands. Because whatever else 20 years in this brutal world took from us, it never touched our instincts. I remind him that more and more foreign loose cultivators have been drifting around the market lately, and we are less than a day out. The terrain right here is broken and completely blind. If I wanted to ambush somebody on this road, this is exactly where I would lie in wait. He repeats the word ambush. He frowns, asking in a low voice if we should just play it safe and take a detour. But I am already turning my horse. I toss him 2 high-quality Golden Light Talismans and a swift travel talisman. He takes all 3 without arguing. 6 men lie hidden in the trees on either side of the road. None of them can figure out why their targets suddenly turned around. Their leader is a burly guy with evil chi practically radiating off his face, and he takes the sudden change of route as a personal insult. He tells his crew to forget it, snapping that those two are early-stage chi refining at best. Obviously just outside loose cultivators who came here to test their luck. One of his guys nods, saying times have been tough, and even a handful of spirit crystals means roasting demon beast meat over the fire tonight. So all 6 of them break cover and give chase. They almost manage to close the distance entirely. Then their leader, a middle-stage chi refining cultivator, finally gets a clean look at exactly what is riding the 2 spirit steeds up ahead. Straw men, coats draped over the shoulders. Branches lash through the clothes to hold the shape perfectly. He barely has enough time to shout that they have been played. Something screams in right behind them. The air instantly shifts to a scorching heat. When the bandit cultivators whip around, their eyes are filled with over a dozen flames, each the size of a hanging lantern. Li Lu steps right through the blazing fire. He roars that a pathetic pack of foreign loose cultivators do not get to cause trouble on Green Bamboo Mountain. It freezes them for exactly as long as we need. Their leader snaps out of it first, shouting that it is impossible, that we are actually middle-stage chi refiners. Recovering first is exactly what puts him straight into Li Lu's broadsword. Their blades clash, his eyes go wide in terror. I can read the thought clear across his face from 30 paces away. 4th layer. That whole rookie routine was just an act. Then a tree at the edge of the clearing flashes green, and he has just enough time to scream ambush. Yeah, that would be me. I have been pressed flat against that trunk since before they even arrived. I wore the bark's color using an invisibility technique, and the spell burns away the second I strike. Green light flashes and blood sprays everywhere. The strike rips open the bandit cultivator's cheek. Flesh peels right back from his gums, a sight nobody should ever have to stomach twice. He screams that he is going to slaughter us both. Then, completely ignoring the pain, he triggers a Golden Light Talisman saved for exactly this kind of disaster. Golden energy snaps into a mana shield around him. I signal Li Lu and we leave their leader standing right there. Down the slope, his 5 early-stage bandit cultivators are still hacking soot from their lungs after that fireball technique. We tear into them like starving tigers hitting a sheep pen. 2 drop dead before anyone even finishes screaming. Li Lu runs an earth-type cultivation technique. His great saber crashes down with all that heavy pressure driving the edge. My green bamboo sword magical artifact works the total opposite way. It flicks out like a viper catching only vital points. Middle stage against early stage is not a fight, it is basic math. Behind us, their leader shouts that this is a misunderstanding, and fellow Taoists should not kill each other over a simple mix-up. He has decided we are in the exact same business. I honestly cannot fault his logic. Bait the road with a spirit steed. Ambush from behind. Force the target to burn a Golden Light Talisman. Abandon him instantly since the shield locks a man's footwork down. Then slaughter the cheap muscle while they are still completely blind. He thinks he stumbled into veteran bandits with way more experience than him. By the time he finishes pleading his case, 4 of his early-stage men are dead. The 5th is burned past recognition. He finally shuts up. He calls us ruthless local bandit cultivators, slaps on a swift travel talisman and bolts without hesitation. He flings his storage pouch into the trees as a distraction and shouts that he admits defeat today. 5 more bodies lie bleeding on the dirt. We do not chase. We loot. I pick up the thrown pouch using my outer robe wrapped around my hand. Then we jump back on the spirit steeds and vanish. 2 hours later. Nothing on the road behind us. We finally let ourselves breathe. Li Lu says that guy was a real veteran. He is entirely right. When their leader ran, he ignored our spirit steeds. He darted straight into the deep forest instead. Anyone choosing that route has survived this game for a long time. Chasing him meant running into whatever deadly traps he left waiting back there. We can set an ambush, so can he. Every loose cultivator out here clawed their way up from the bottom of the exact same pile. None of us lived this long by fighting fair. I had hidden traps laid on our spirit steeds too. That is pretty much the only part of the afternoon I actually regret. 20 years in the cultivation world has done almost nothing for my cultivation level, but it did everything for my survival instincts. Li Lu thoroughly checks the spoils for traps before touching a single thing. Then he digs 42 spirit crystals off the 5 corpses. Not one magical artifact among them. That thrown storage pouch is naturally poisoned. I blow the powder away with mana while both of us brace for something considerably worse. The pouch turns out to be totally empty. Li Lu calls the man treacherous. He says that bastard has the look of someone who has ruined more lives than anyone could ever count. I remind him the guy stood at the 5th layer of chi refining. In a head-on clash, the 2 of us might not have actually come out on top. Banditry is absolutely the fastest road to wealth in this world. It is also the quickest way wealth gets people brutally killed. The pouch itself still fetches 3 spirit stones. I toss it across to him. He catches the leather and suddenly has no idea what to do with his hands. I remind him he was the one wishing he might own a storage pouch someday. He flushes bright red, then grins widely and turns it over like absolute treasure. He could never force himself to spend the hard cash. But a pouch falling right out of the sky is an entirely different story. I tell him to trade it out once we reach home, just in case somebody recognizes the stitching. We stayed disguised the entire way, so our faces are perfectly safe. The real danger is whether that leather carries some secret tracking mark an old acquaintance could read. Anything pulled off a bandit cultivator has to be liquidated fast. Do it before someone with a vested interest comes asking around. He tells me not to worry about it, and I believe him. He hands over 42 spirit crystals from our split. I take them without any polite fake refusal. Friends stay friends by keeping their money completely clear. Plus, turning spirit crystals into spirit stones carries a premium fee anyway. He tries handing back the Golden Light Talismans and the Swift Travel Talisman. I just wave them off. The road is not over yet. We can easily settle our final accounts inside the market. Then I ask him to find out exactly what terms the Jew family offers an external talisman master. That request makes him visibly uncomfortable. A matrilocal son-in-law holds zero standing to negotiate anything at all. Still, he promises to go ask on my behalf. I already know exactly where I stand. My skills are pretty enviable among ordinary loose cultivators, but they are worth absolutely nothing in front of an old Foundation establishment clan. Until I can craft first-grade, high-grade talismans, no one in that house will respect me enough to call me a guest elder. Those two titles do not belong in the same sentence. We made it back to the Green Bamboo Mountain Market alive. Honestly, that is the only metric that matters. The whole place packed out while we were gone. Unfamiliar faces crowding every single stall. More trade, more noise, more opportunity, and a whole lot more instability simmering right underneath. Lilu hands back the spirit steed and marches straight to the Jew family management office. A fourth-layer chi refining cultivator does not get to bother the clan's Foundation establishment ancestor. Neither does a first-grade, medium-grade talisman master. Instead, he gets Zhuantai, a late-stage chi refining cultivator well past 80. White hair, white beard. He is the guy currently running the family's entire outside business. Zhuantai actually remembers me without a prompt. He names me Mjangen, the rogue cultivator who walked into the market beside Lilu 20 years ago. Lilu keeps his head down, answering him with total respect. He reports that I drew high-quality first-grade, low-grade Golden Light Talismans, and that I just hit the fourth layer of chi refining. He lays out every detail. A Foundation establishment clan never takes an outsider purely on trust. They never slack on a basic background check. Only a first-grade, high-grade talisman master gets to skip that process, which I am definitely not. Ability is the only currency that buys privilege here. Zhuantai strokes his white beard, decides my background is perfectly clean. 20 years of quiet work. Not a single black mark anywhere on my ledger. He tells Lilu that since I am interested, I should present myself tomorrow. Lilu cups both hands in thanks, bowing a little deeper than the occasion actually demands. The old man genuinely likes him. Out of all the matrilocal sons-in-law in that massive house, Lilu is his absolute favorite. And not just because his own descendant married the guy. It is his honesty. There is nothing hidden away inside Lilu. No twists, no double meanings. In a clan, that huge and honest man is just restful company. On the way out, Zhuantai reminds him the market is unstable, tells him to stay indoors more often. He even tells him to swap his storage pouch for a clan-issued one. Lilu walks out practically glowing, and it has nothing to do with the bag. My interview is locked in. The Jew family reception hall. The next morning, Zhuantai takes the main seat wearing a high-grade magical robe, smiling the kind, warm smile of a harmless old grandpa. He asks me to draw a talisman right there for verification, but I know better than to trust that smile. I was here 20 years ago during the land reclamation. I saw exactly what this sweet old man looks like when ground needs clearing. I just tell him I am ready to show my humble skills. They want to gauge my limits. That suits me. Showing raw talent is the only way to negotiate better terms anyway. The trick is balance. Impressive enough to hook them, restrained enough to look natural. I walk over to their prep table and do absolutely nothing. I let my mind go totally still. Elder Jew takes no offense, just waves a hand, signaling the two young clan cultivators to watch closely. Half an incense stick burns away. Nobody even shifts a foot. Then my eyes snap open, spirit peeking. I lift the brush, dip it straight into the specialized cinnabar meant for Golden Light Talismans. The brush moves, my breath catches. The tip dances across the talisman paper like a dragon, smooth as water rushing into a carved channel. I catch Zhuantai nodding quietly to himself. When I finally set that brush down, 8 Golden Light Talismans sit on the desk, giving off a faint spiritual light. The glow on 2 of them is noticeably fiercer than the rest. Elder Jew flat out states that my craftsmanship is genuinely extraordinary. One of the younger guys hands me a towel. I wipe away the heavy sweat sticking to my forehead from the mental strain. Then I cup my hands, deflecting the praise onto the brush and cinnabar. Without materials of that caliber, I never could have pulled it off. Two exquisite first-grade, low-grade Golden Light Talismans. And honestly, that is not entirely false modesty. The spiritual brush and cinnabar they provided are leagues above anything I buy myself. Elder Jew waves it off, says he has zero use for empty pleasantries. The Jew family will hand over the medium-grade production legacy for the first-grade Golden Light Talisman. And if my skills keep climbing, the clan also holds a first-grade high-grade master legacy. In exchange, I guarantee a strict quota of first-grade medium-grade talismans every single year. Plus, I train a couple of their juniors. The beast-taming Jew family did not become a great foundation establishment clan by acting stupid. These terms are honestly reasonable. I get the production method, plus a steady monthly allowance of cultivation resources. I hit a quota every year, and I teach two kids with spiritual aptitude so bad that drawing talismans is their only real shot. Strip away the polite talk. They are buying a long-term laborer. I bargain anyway. I ask if 15 years isn't a bit much for a guy pushing 40. Elder Jew says 10 years is the absolute floor. Plus, they provide a dojo packed with spiritual chi and cover all my crafting materials. I asked to drop the annual quota by 20%. Offer to teach 2 extra juniors instead. It is all theater, really. I am honestly fighting a laugh. They supply the materials. That means I stay at peak state until my hands give out and every extra sheet I draw is pure profit. Better yet, I now have a foundation establishment clan backing my name. We settle things with sassified smiles. Elder Jew says the family is counting on Talisman Master M now. I tell him I wouldn't dare claim that title, but I'll teach his juniors well. The final terms give me a lighter quota for 6 months. Then it holds steady. In return, I train their talisman makers properly. No cutting corners. A clan that massive always has a crowd of kids with trash spiritual roots. The kind who stay stuck in early-stage chi refining until they die. Outside of basic chores, most pick up a trade and serve the family. A poor spiritual root is an even worse hand than my low-grade one. Lilu walks me out himself. Once past the gates, I look down at the low-grade magical robe on my shoulders. Give it a pat. Feels just like silk, and it does way more than repel dust and look nice. This thing packs actual defensive strength. Down in the mortal world, this would be golden soft armor. Totally proof against blades, spears, fire, and water. Makes sense why a middle-stage key refiner crushes an early-stage one. The gap isn't just mana and it's the gear. Half the early-stage rookies don't even own a basic magical artifact. They swing ordinary steel, and regular steel cannot cut a magical robe. They even assigned me my own cultivation dojo. I walk home buzzing. Got packing to do, moving straight under Jew family protection. My labor tax drops to half of what I've paid for 2 decades. The ancestors weren't joking about finding a big tree for shade. Somebody knocks before I can even fold 3 things. Old Man Ho was gone over 2 months. That haggard face I remember actually has some color in it now. He grins the second I open the door. But my eyes go straight to his left hand. 4 fingers gone, taken clean off by a demon beast. He doesn't even try to hide it. Just holds it up and says my Golden Light Talisman saved his life. Without it, he'd be dead. He grins so wide I can see every gap in his yellow teeth. Then he tells his grandson to hurry up and greet Uncle M. The kid steps up. Handsome, wearing fine silk. His usual humble smile looks thin now, perfunctory. Heyo Yan says his greetings. He's got a magical robe on too, which I notice and file away. Old Man Ho is laughing too hard to shut his mouth. He announces the boy just hit extraordinary luck, scouted by the big foundation establishment Wang family, and passed the entry exams for Iwa Palace in the exact same season. Well, that explains the look. Just a kid who thinks he's going places. I force a smile and congratulate Old Man Ho. Nobody hits a smiling face, right? He just keeps happily boasting. Heyo Yan mutters the word grandfather, but it heavily implies he wants to leave right now. An outer sect disciple with the Wang family backing him? In his own head, he's already inner sect. This market isn't home anymore, it's just mud he needs to scrape off his boots. Chatting with commoners is totally beneath him. Old Man Ho looks pretty awkward. Then he spots my new robe and completely freezes. He asks, half stunned, if it's from the Jew family. Their bestowed robes carry a very specific cultivator mark, and his eyes have always been sharp. I nod. Tell him the legacy for first-grade medium talismans doesn't just fall from the sky. Only heavy-hitting families like that hold the manuals. That basically says everything, without saying it. He congratulates me properly, then digs out 2 spirit stones and that original swift travel talisman I sold him. His remaining fingers fumble at his robe. He hasn't figured out how to live left-handed yet. I wave it off. Tell him my news is absolutely nothing. That his grandson getting into Iwa Palace is the one with the real bright future. Old Man Ho bellylogs at that. Every single hard year he swallowed was for exactly that sentence. He hurries off to brag to every neighbor on the row. Still stingy as ever, that old guy. I stash the spirit stones, but something on the return swift travel talisman catches my eye. A few fine strands of hair cling to the paper. One corner is stained with dried blood. That fur belongs to a black-winged wolf cub. Old man Ho actually found a wolf den and kept his mouth completely shut. Takes a kind of nerve I never would have credited him with. No wonder he came back glowing, even missing 4 fingers. Just one demon beast cub of that grade guarantees a comfortable retirement. I feel jealous for exactly one breath. My own opportunities certainly aren't lacking. A kid like Ho Yan landing a medium-grade spiritual root? The old me would have agonized over it for a week. But I have my own path now. The road ahead stretches out, and those 40 years behind me? Just cold wind and snow on a trail I have already survived. Packing finished, I head straight to the residence the Jew family arranged for me. It is not just some room. It is a full courtyard. Small garden included, with living quarters leagues better than anywhere else I have slept since arriving here. Inside, I crack open the Jew family manual for the first-grade medium-grade Golden Light Talisman. The system notification lands almost instantly. Golden Light Talisman gains 5. Proficiency at 18 out of 1,000. But my expression freezes. I finally take a real look at the lifespan column. Lifespan 40 out of 98. I can rake in spirit stones now. My cultivation just hit the refining middle stage. Yet the single number dictating everything has not budged an inch. Even before the awakening, I was going to live to around 100. If I get this power and still die at 100, what was the point? The good mood I carried through that gate just vanishes. That recent gathering probably triggered it. Watching kids 20 years younger plotting their foundation establishment, while I patted myself on the back for a courtyard. That is the open wound. I will admit it once, then drop it. My awakening hit way too late. 20 years earlier, and I would be right beside them gearing up for foundation establishment. Instead, I am tracking my death on a hidden panel. A foundation establishment cultivator lives 200 years. With my newly awakened talent, aiming for that is actually realistic. This awakening did not hand me outright immortality, but it gave me an endless supply of chances. The more I chew on that, the faster my exhaustion burns off. Past 60, foundation establishment odds completely collapse. That gives me exactly 20 usable years. So I need a small milestone first. Hit the refining 7th layer within 10 years. If age 60 hits and I have not broken through yet, I will spend whatever decades remain properly enjoying myself. Otherwise, I drag myself into this life for nothing. Goal locked in, I drop the manual, heading for the table. Other talisman masters shut their eyes to meditate. Before a really difficult sheet, I take one deep breath, grab the brush, and dip straight into the cinnabar. The tip glides across the paper fluid, natural like a dragon tangling with a snake. Then a thick column of smoke blows up. I cough until my eyes water. First try at a first-grade medium-grade talisman completely bombed. A normal master would need serious time to recover his mental state. I avoid that problem entirely. That is the point of my talent. So I just lift the brush again. A medium-grade Golden Light Talisman strains the materials more and chugs way more chi. But the real hurdle is the sheer intricacy. The pattern is heavily layered and unforgiving. The simplified low-grade sheets were never like this. Paper after paper turns to white smoke. Then on the 6th attempt, gold flickers from the lines and holds. I laugh out loud in the empty room like an absolute idiot. Half a year ago, I was a broken refining 3rd layer cultivator. I was packing for the mortal world, ready to let my life quietly run out. Now in under half a year, I hit the 4th layer and drafted a first-grade medium-grade Golden Light Talisman with my own 2 hands. A medium-grade defensive sheet fetches 4 spirit stones at market. Jumping from 1 spirit stone to 4 is not just an improvement, it changes everything. After that, I just go quiet again. Back to the reclusive routine that always suited me best. To the Jew family, I am just a talented talisman master who spent 2 whole months struggling to finally draft his first medium-grade sheet. By the 3rd month, the 4 apprentices they assigned me start showing up at the courtyard. Deep inside a sealed Wang family chamber, demon beast cubs whine from iron cages. 2 of them angrily bare their fangs at any sudden movement. A cultivator delivers his report to the Grand Elder. 38 black wind wolf cubs captured in total. 2 of them carry the pure bloodline of a 2nd-layer wolf king. The Wang family Grand Elder, a foundation establishment cultivator, nods with deep satisfaction. He declares that the beast-taming Jew family will take a massive fall, a fall they cannot survive. Behind him, the late-stage refining cultivator winces at the cost. He asks if they are really going to sacrifice those 2 2nd-layer bloodline beasts. Raised to adulthood, an animal like that could match a foundation establishment cultivator. The Grand Elder just snorts. Demon beasts are too hard to raise. Every single year and resource poured into an animal is stolen straight from their own clan's young cultivators. The Wang family is prosperous and rising. They do not need to keep company with animals the way the Jew family does. The late-stage cultivator cups his hands in agreement. The Grand Elder's smile turns greedy. The market is chaotic right now. They will slip the wolf cubs into the black market during the confusion, and the Jew family will never let a chance like that slip by. After that comes the rumor campaign disguised as heavy praise. Every single cultivator in the market will hear the wonderful news. The beast-taming Jew family just scored 2 more second-layer demon beast cubs. The late-stage cultivator smiles right back. He led the capture himself, he tells them, and he was incredibly thorough. They left Jew family disciple robes right at the dens. They even worked the scent of their talismans deep into the dirt. They even scattered broken shell from the blackwater turtle, the Jew family's clan protecting spirit beast. By now, those animals must be losing their minds. When the demon beasts crash down on the market, the Jew family will take the blame, whether they want to or not. Hearing the name of the blackwater turtle, the Grand Elder's eyes burn with old hatred. 20 years ago, that beast was the only reason this market did not become Wang family ground. He says exactly that out loud. Back then, both families bled for market resources. The Jew family only survived by playing the blackwater turtle as their final card, and they bled heavily doing it. That is the only reason a clan of their standing ever needed to take in an outside son-in-law, and it is the reason Li Eel even has a wife. Over in the Unmu Mountains, wolf howls echo out of a valley cold enough to stop a heartbeat. Under the moonlight, the dens are completely empty. The ground is torn to shreds where cultivators clashed with the demon beasts. What is left of the pack lies scattered across the slope in bloody pieces, cubs and mothers alike brutally dismembered. It does not look like hunting at all. It looks like a hit, beneath dozens of oily green eyes burning with something way too close to human anger. 2 black windwolf demon beasts rise over the lip of the valley. The aura coming off them practically crushes the air. They lock onto the direction of the green bamboo mountain market and howl at the sky. The sheer force of it shakes gravel loose from the valley walls. 100 miles out, demon beasts that have never even seen the valley go totally rigid, fur standing on end. Inside the valley, an answering chorus rises thicker, deafening. Then the black shapes pour out into the night right behind their wolf king. They do not charge the market. Instead, they run deeper into the Unmu Mountains. The wolf king throws one last glance back toward the market. There is a heavy grudge in that animal's eyes, the kind that belongs on a man's face. Once the pack is gone, the night goes dead silent. Quiet, worse than the howling. Up in a massive tree at the valley edge, a dark figure straightens up. The figure judges the wolf king at second layer late stage. Its companion sits at second layer early stage. The figure smiles. He tells the empty slope that the beasts should go and be good, obedient pets. They need to drive every demon beast in these mountains down. Let the market relive the massacre from 15 years ago. The laugh that follows is dry and cracked. The memory buried underneath it still paints raw fear onto his face. 15 years ago, the market barely survived. But this time is different, the figure says. This time, every cultivator there will empty their rage onto the Jew family. A flying boat unfolds, and the night swallows the figure whole. Black wind wolves carry a very long memory for injury. They are far more intelligent than their teeth suggest. Faced with the human market, they did not just throw themselves blindly at the walls. They did exactly what the Wang family gambled they would do. They went up into the mountains to push every single other demon beast down ahead of them. Sunlight hits the courtyard. 4 young Jew family cultivators bend over the table, jaws firmly set. I tell them the talisman path is easy to learn, but brutal to master. Their spiritual roots are pretty poor. But every art in this world turns on one single word: insight. That one word has stumped thousands of cultivators before them. Some guys have an epiphany the very first time they lift a brush. Others grind at it for decades, then wake up one morning totally unstoppable. The cultivation world is full of both kinds of stories. Here I am in a green robe, standing over a table, correcting their brushwork. I look exactly like a teacher. I take the Jew family's benefits, so I teach them properly and hold nothing back. Apparently that is rare enough to turn heads. I do the work for the people who pay me. Besides, the only part of my craft that really counts is talent. And talent is the one thing nobody in this courtyard can steal from me. I tell them it is always better to be precise than broad. Then I walk them line by line through the Golden Light Talisman, pointing out every single mistake out loud. 2 hours later, the sun sits high. All 4 chi refining early-stage youngsters have completely burned through half their mental energy and mana. So we stop. They approach together saying the lecture was excellent. They have studied under a talisman master before, but nobody ever explained things this thoroughly. And they actually mean it. Having poor spiritual roots forces a kid to grow up fast. They absolutely know the difference between a teacher who cares and one just going through the motions. I take the praise calmly. I tell them to stop buttering me up. I am eating their family spirit stones, and they would toss me out immediately if I taught poorly. They just laugh at that. 2 months took them from totally nervous to entirely comfortable. They decided Talisman Master M is pretty easygoing. Their chatter drifts back across the courtyard as they leave. The market is getting lively. Loose cultivators keep arriving in waves, and construction already started on the outskirts since the market is preparing to expand. A ton of loose cultivators have struck luck lately, meaning a whole lot of black wind wolf cubs just got bought up. Then one youngster fads people are whispering. Those cubs look exactly like spirit beasts raised by the Jew family. A busier market brings total chaos. And chaos right during a land reclamation is a massive opportunity. I could move talismans quietly and convert them into solid cultivation resources. A few first-grade, medium-grade Vajra talismans could easily blend in. Medium-grade talismans are hardly rare inside a crowd this large. Lilu strolls through my gate with a huge grin and a bottle in each hand. I remind him spirit wine is not exactly cheap. He happily corrects me. It was a family reward. Every single clan cultivator at the Chi refining middle stage got a bottle of top-grade spirit wine. That is what joining a massive clan buys you. A strong backer above and free gifts whenever the house celebrates. I ask what the big celebration is. Top-grade spirit wine runs at least one whole spirit stone per bottle. He says the clan chief bought 2 black wind wolf cubs at auction with second-layer bloodlines. Raised right, they become Foundation Establishment spirit beasts. That is the true advantage of a black wind wolf. A short cultivation period. The Jew family town guarding Blackwater Turtle needed nearly 200 years to fully mature. It has easily outlived 2 or 3 human generations. I offer the correct polite response about the 2 second-layer bloodline demon beasts. I take the wine. But halfway through the motion, my smile completely dies. Old Man Ho came home missing 4 fingers. Now black wind wolf cubs are totally flooding the market. The Jew family just bought 2 second-layer cubs at auction. Any one of those facts alone is nothing. But laid end to end, they start forming a very ugly shape. Keep my face perfectly still and ask casually, have a lot of black wind wolf cubs been going under the hammer lately? Lilu nods without a single flicker of suspicion. They are even hitting the black market. Plenty of tree-fining late-stage cultivators bought them up. He privately wonders if his own clan is quietly selling spirit beasts. Then he turns a bit wistful. He says if he ever breaks through to Chi refining late stage himself, he will buy a spirit beast cub for his kid at home. I ask him to repeat the part about the Jew family selling spirit beasts to outsiders. My brows are already sinking down. He just laughs, clearly proud. The clan admitted absolutely nothing, he says. But in the entire Green Bamboo Mountain market, who does not know the beast-taming Jew family golden signboard? Even his own people actually believe it. That is the exact part that dumps ice into my stomach. I signed with this Foundation Establishment clan a few weeks ago. I patted myself on the back for finally securing a solid patron. Now it feels like standing on the absolute edge of a whirlpool. Over in the Jew family hall, Clan Chief Jew Inmo just returned from the auction for 2 second-layer demon beast cubs, and there is nothing left of the good mood he arrived with. He immediately asks his father if it is actually true. Have a massive amount of black wind wolf cubs been sold in the market? The old ancestor, the family Foundation Establishment Cultivator, completely white through the hair and beard, confirms it with a face like a locked door. The cubs surfaced in the market almost the exact instant Jew Inmo drew spirit stones from the clan treasury. Father and son look at each other. They say the exact same name out loud, the Wang family. Jew Inmo curses them like a ghost that simply refuses to stay buried. Then, because he is the clan chief, he forces it down and thinks. Raising spirit beasts takes years, and second-layer spirit beasts take far more than mere years. With the land reclamation almost on them, the Wang family is deliberately draining the foundation of the clan, playing the exact same trick as last time. These 2 cubs might just be the final straw that shatters the Jew family for good. Second-layer beasts drain a fortune right from the start. If the clan stalls out and misses the critical window to raise them, those cubs become entirely useless. But the old ancestor orders him to hold steady. Landing 2 second-layer cubs still benefits the house. The clan plans to celebrate loud and hard, using all that noise to recruit wandering rogue cultivators flooding the market. Pure defense is all the Jew family can actually afford right now. The power gap between the 2 rival houses is just undeniable fact. The Jew family holds 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators, and the old ancestor only has 30 years of lifespan left at best. Add in the town guardian spirit beast, and they field 3. The rival Wang family fields 5. Their 2 oldest veterans easily have 50 or 60 years left, and the other 3 are in their absolute prime. No choice now but to brace for the impact. As the land reclamation draws closer, the local market explodes into a frenzy I haven't seen in years. Every single street is crammed with cultivators, setting up stalls, screaming over each other. One vendor screams that his chi-nourishing pills regulate breathing and spike cultivation power. Someone else holds up a first-grade, medium-grade Vajgar talisman, for trade getting completely mocked for it. By the time I walk past, he is literally begging the customer to stay. Wearing a completely different face, I slip through the crowd, inspecting the medicinal pill I just bought. A surge in rogue cultivators brings pure chaos, and chaos is exactly where I thrive. Even better, I don't need the black market today. Right out in broad daylight with this massive influx of outsiders. Even the official merchant guilds are dumping stock. My heavy stack of medium-grade Golden Light Talismans might look suspicious on a single guy, but in a river this huge, invisible, conspiracy or not, the supply moves while the going is good. Raw strength is the only real security anyone possesses. I step out of a dark alley wearing a brand new face and a completely different coat. 20 years in this market means I know those back streets way better than the men who built them. Changing identities over and over, I dump most of my inventory in less than a day. Reaching the final stall, I drop the disguise and haggle like a normal person. I open the bid 3 first-grade medium-grade fireball talismans for 2 of mine. The owner openly asks if I am joking. We finally settle at an even 2 for 2 and he tosses in some fasting pills. Pretty satisfied with the haul, I grab a window seat at a Jew family restaurant. I order enough spirit wine and roasted meat to cover the entire table. As an externally hired talisman master, I get a solid discount at Jew family businesses. I crossed 4 streets just to make absolutely sure I used it. The tavern is deafening. Someone shouts that the Qian couple actually scored a black windwolf cub. Another guy brushes it off. A black windwolf is just a first-layer demon beast, nowhere near a flaming tiger. Plus, multiple hunting squads are already teaming up. Then an old cultivator with a long beard tells the whole room they are totally blind. This many black wolf cubs dropping at once means someone wiped out a massive den. No standard squad pulls that off. And on top of that, he reminds them the beast-taming Jew family publicly revealed 2 cubs with a second-layer bloodline. From there, anyone with half a brain can connect the dots. Bitter envy fills the entire tavern. The beast-taming Jew family hit the ultimate jackpot this time, flexing a kind of wealth no one else here can even touch. I listen and my blood runs completely cold. If I can see the trap forming from this table, the Jew family definitely saw it coming way before me. Then again, I am just an external hire. My contract says I provide talismans for the house. It does not require me to stand in line and bleed. When the ceiling caves in, it crushes the tallest guys first. So I just eat, finish my drink, and walk home. I am a chi refining 4th layer nobody. Stressing out is a terrible substitute for getting stronger. Over the next few days, anyone watching just sees a normal guy strolling the market, quietly cultivating, and teaching his apprentices. Down in the secret chamber, I open my eyes, feeling a fresh thread of pure cultivation power settling inside my core. It is genuinely hard not to laugh at my old miserable life. Chewing through spirit stones and medicinal pills every single day now. The breakthrough that originally cost me 20 brutal years would have been completely effortless. Nothing humbles you like comparison. I burn more raw cultivation resources in 1 month now than I used to spend in half a year. Mostly out of habit, I pull up the system panel. Name at the top. Lifespan still reading 40 out of 98. Cultivation realm sitting at chi refining 4th layer with 2 out of 100 filled. The Everspring art sits at proficient 869 out of 1000. Under skills, the Golden Light Talisman reached 18, while the Swift Travel Talisman sits at 1 point. Down under spells. Fireball technique proficient at 458. Breath concealment sitting at 219. Invisibility at exactly 130. Object manipulation hit skilled at 488 out of 500. Seeing the realm line makes me smile. As Everspring art proficiency climbs, my cultivation speed shoots right up with it. The curve bends upward instead of flattening, and that is entirely thanks to the Junior Sister's notebook. These are the insights of a late-stage chi refining cultivator. My understanding has advanced further in 1 season than it moved in 10 years. But the smile fades fast. The tension rolling through the market creeps back in, dragging my good mood right down with it. At this pace, the 5th layer of chi refining is another 2 or 3 years away. With the land reclamation breathing down our necks, this market will not give me 2 or 3 peaceful years. I have to move faster. The problem? The Golden Light Talisman is the absolute only first-grade medium-grade talisman I actually know. I need 1 or 2 more crafting methods before I can quietly stockpile resources at a decent speed. Now that I know what cultivation feels like when fueled by spirit stones, I refuse to crawl again. At my age, I cannot afford the slow path anyway. I empty my storage pouch, letting the spirits spill into my lap in a glittering pile, over 90 of them in 3 months. That is not even counting the medicinal pills I traded for and swallowed along the way. My eyes light up at the pile like some greedy peasant. Honestly, I kind of alarm myself. An ordinary first-grade, medium-grade talisman master clears maybe a dozen spirit stones a month after expenses. With my crafting state permanently locked at absolute peak level, going all out, I could easily clear over 100. Every land reclamation brings a massive wave of wealth, dragging incredibly rare items right out into the open. Magical artifact, spirit pets, lost legacies from the 100 arts of cultivation, even genuine foundation establishment pills. This is my chance too. I will not let myself dream about a foundation establishment pill, but a proper talisman legacy, that is well within reach. Prudence says I need to learn one or two more first-grade, medium-grade talismans. Playing it safe has a second perk. Advanced talisman masters can look at two identical sheets and know instantly if the same hand drew both. Talismans are strictly divided into attack, defense, movement, and utility. The materials and techniques differ so wildly between categories that nobody traces a crafter across them. Staying within one category makes it way too easy. That explains why my recent buyers have all been demon beast hunting cultivators. Those men buy for their own survival, burning through talismans way faster than anybody else. Two more medium-grade talismans. Cultivation totally untouched. About 100 spirit stones a month in pure profit. My spiritual root aptitude is total garbage, but spirit stones do not care. 40 years are already gone, so I either fight for this right now, or pack up for the mortal world to simply enjoy the cash. 3 months later, I step out of a long session, exhale, and see my realm line reading She refining 4th layer at 11 of 100. 2 to 11 in a single season. Spirit stones do exactly what they promise. Keeping this pace, the next breakthrough hits in under 3 years. The answer to every single problem I face remains exactly the same: earn a lot more spirit stones. The stone in my palm turns pale, completely drained of spiritual chi, and my fingers crush it into dust. A fresh low-grade spirit stone is hard as pure iron. A spent one is just fragile gravel. I straighten my robes and sweep the dust out of the room before anyone catches a glimpse. Burning through spirit stones daily is not something even ordinary cultivators and great clans would dare do. Plus, a guy who looks a bit too rich just invites questions. 3 spirit stones a day would outright double my cultivation speed, but it would also cost me over 100 spirit stones every single month. And earning that much is not the actual problem. The real issue? The only reason I can move that much stock is because the market has gone totally chaotic. And chaos is a landlord who eventually comes knocking for rent. Lou is waiting outside my gate with his bags fully packed, so I head out to meet him. It honestly still shocks us both that the young Marquis Shimriel managed to build a proper chamber of commerce alongside the junior sister. Lou spends the entire walk marveling that an old friend is coming to this specific market. I just smile, agree, and quietly keep score in my head. 3 guys failed that sect examination with the exact same low-grade spiritual root. One married into a clan, while the other is halfway to marrying Yuk Chong Chong. I had the looks. Yet all 3 of us shared the exact same spiritual roots, but things shook out this way regardless. It used to make me genuinely wonder if a handsome face is worth anything at all in the cultivation world. Then I remember my real talent finally woke up. I stopped keeping score after that. The chamber is small, but it was put together under the little county princess. Shimriel had actually sent word of the whole plan by letter a while back. Now that I sit under Jew family patronage, letters reach me straight through the family, instead of being passed hand to hand through Lou. Lou calls Anyo a genuine genius, and I completely agree because the woman has serious nerve. This chamber is plainly Anyo's personal vehicle for stockpiling her massive foundation establishment costs. If she makes it, she becomes a foundation establishment expert, and everyone standing by her side rises up. The years they spent backing her get paid out several times over. Nobody loses in that kind of arrangement. So, the 2 of us walk past the market gates and just wait. Noon hits before the caravan finally rolls into sight. Lilu is grinning way before I am. I am too busy frowning at their formation, a line that long shouldn't look so completely ragged. Shimriel spots us, swings straight off his horse, and grabs us both for a hug. He greets Brother Im and Brother Lilu by name. Looks like the young Marquis finally managed to learn Lilu's actual surname. Lilu almost calls him Young Marquis, catches himself, and swaps it to Brother Shimriel instead. Then he asks why they all look so beat up. Shimriel flicks his sleeve in sheer disgust and mutters that the whole trip was cursed. They hired Iwa Palace outer sect disciples for protection, and had zero trouble initially. Then 3 days out it hit the fan. They ran into demon beasts one after another, including a golden leopard. My chest suddenly goes tight. Golden leopards live way out in the deep Unmu Mountains. I ask what a beast like that was doing on the outskirts. Right then, the carriage curtain lifts. Yukshankan Chong steps down directly into the middle of our laughter. She says they found tracks from plenty of deep Unmu Mountain demon beasts along the road. Her red? The land reclamation is drawing way too many cultivators, pushing those beasts entirely off their turf. Lilu and I both cup our hands to greet the junior sister. It is honestly strange how easily she fits right in with us. Lilu totally agrees with her take. Demon beasts hold fixed territory, and a sudden flood of cultivators unsettles them before every single reclamation. I swallow my actual thoughts and just wave them all toward the gate. I tell them the welcome banquet has been waiting since morning. Shimriel looks half-wrecked but absolutely thrilled. The market is roaring right now, and he brought a massive haul of goods to sell. That was the plan all along. More wandering cultivators outside means a lot more spirit stones flowing into the Chamber of Commerce. A demon beast disturbance isn't a danger here. It is just a season. We grab a private room up in Schweisen Tower, the four of us around a single table. The caravan guards got their spirit stones the second they stepped inside the gate. Shimriel even bought them a full table downstairs. 5 middle-stage chi-refining Iwa Palace disciples. Led by one guy at the late stage, all 6 of them smile at us like old friends. Nobody hates a generous boss. Plus, it really doesn't hurt that every single one of them knows whose money is actually paying them. Shimriel raises his cup, marveling that we are all back together again so soon after our last meeting. As the spirit wine and roasted meat hit the table, he works the room without breaking a sweat. That exact social gift is why Anyo put him in charge of the chamber. Then he circles right back to his letter's request. Since Lilu and I are locals, we know this market better than anyone. I set down my cup and lay out what we have. Over the past few days, we vetted a solid number of candidates. Every single one has a totally clean background. They are either kids of cultivators living in the market, or cultivators whose own children are settled right here. A new chamber needs local hires who already understand the turf. What I keep to myself is this: a guy with his family in the market is a guy who won't steal the inventory and run. Yuk Chong Chong thanks Senior Brother Im and Senior Brother Lilu, lifting her glass to us both. Later, Lilu and I quietly agree. Doing business with her feels exactly like standing in a warm spring breeze. She and Shimriel are absolutely cut from the same cloth. By the time the banquet ends, the four of us feel a lot less like mere acquaintances. Merchant groups roll into the market every single day now. So a trading party led by Shimriel and Yuk Chong Chong draws zero attention. Anyone holding goods wants a piece of this booming economy. Within 3 days, they pick a site, hand over the spirit stones, and open their doors. In this kind of crowd, a wasted day just hands your profit to somebody else. Backed by the name of an Iwa Palace intersect disciple, the official paperwork clears incredibly fast. Inside the new shop, Shimriel thanks Lilu and me. Lilu turns completely red, waving off the credit, saying his family actually sent him. The real procurement list was all the Jew family's work. They just ran it through Lilu for convenience, which is really worth thinking about. It makes total sense for the Jew family to court Anya right now. Anyone can add gold leaf to a finished mansion, but nobody brings firewood during a raging blizzard. Anyo hasn't even reached foundation establishment yet. Befriending her now costs almost nothing if she fails, and they still get an Iwa Palace intersect disciple. If she succeeds, there is no math on earth where the Jew family loses out. But what really bothers me is the scale. The family's recent recruitment of outside cultivators has been way too loud for a house that claims to just be celebrating. Yuk Chong Chong sincerely thanks Senior Brother Im. Lilu nods along, admitting that Big Brother Im has cultivated here for years and knows way more locals than he does. I just wave it off. Between Elder Yuki's guidance, the junior sister's gift of rare books, and my own goals, I was never going to refuse them. I brought them several ordinary talisman masters, plus a pretty solid number of other cultivators on the side. They all came willingly. A shop backed by an Iwa Palace intersect disciple easily beats working some street stall. Then I hesitate over my next words and she catches it before I even decide to speak. She asks if Senior Brother M has some kind of trouble he can't talk about. Shimriel and Lu chuckle, edging toward the door to give us privacy. I shake my head and tell her it's nothing. The market has been a real mix of good and bad men lately. Pills and talismans are circulating, and nobody asks where they came from. I let the sentence trail off. It makes my point. She isn't surprised in the least. Actually, she looks pleased. She says if the quality holds up, she doubts anyone would dare cause trouble on Iwa Palace ground. Now that is one capable woman. Beneath that soft voice, every single word quietly proves who has her back. Enyo is an inner sect disciple. Her merchant group is registered with a sect. Having that kind of backing wipes out a lot of problems before they even start. I just nod and let it rest. The cultivation world is packed with men who killed someone, are hiding from someone, or just cannot be trusted with anything. Cultivation families won't take them in, and they definitely don't dare show their faces in the open. So they sink into a market like this one and just stay put. 20 years of drifting means I know very few late-stage chi refining experts, but I know a massive number of everyone else. Shimriel says it always comes back to Big Brother M, and the three of us settle on a base price. Business only lasts when people give each other reasons to return. I agree to it all. Meanwhile, I quietly decide to push my own talismans through Shimriel's channel in small batches. It is far safer than the alternatives. It only works if I learn a second type. Moving the same medium-grade talisman every month will eventually draw attention. Walking home, Lou asks if I think the little county princess will actually hit Foundation establishment this time around. I just shake my head. If the competition among Iwa Palace intersect disciples is that vicious, he can figure out the odds for ordinary cultivators like us. He considers it blankly, deciding it's lucky we're only at the 4th layer of Shi refining. Men like us don't even have to worry about it. I laugh at him. There's no arguing with that logic. Then I look out at the roaring market around us, and I can't quite keep my expression straight. So many people came here looking for the Foundation's establishment pill. Almost none of them will actually get one. Before my talent woke up, I wouldn't even say the words Foundation establishment aloud in an empty room. 10 nights later, the market's calm finally breaks. I'm cultivating when a roar rips over the rooftops, dragging me out of it. My expression changes before I'm even properly awake, because I know that exact sound. It's the Green Bamboo Mountain Market's defensive formation. The last time it triggered was the Demon Beast Tide 15 years ago. And 15 years hasn't blunted that memory one bit. I pull my low-grade magical artifact, the Green Bamboo Sword, from my storage pouch and rush outside. The formation barrier is already glowing across the entire market sky. Lou comes stumbling out from next door, dragging his wife and children behind him. He looks more terrified than I've ever seen him, begging to know what's happening. I tell him someone is attacking the market, and to get his family hidden. But that isn't the part that scares me. When a market this size panics, the enemies outside the barrier are rarely the ones doing the killing. The formation's light pours down over the streets. That night 15 years ago is sitting right there, clear as day in Lou's eyes. The entire market boils over all at once. A cultivator who made it inside before the barrier closed stands in the road, drenched in blood. He is screaming that the demon beasts of the Unmu Mountains have escaped. Out beyond the walls, echoing with wolf howls, countless demon beasts are being driven straight toward us. Over at the Wang family estate, the Grand Elder finally laughs out loud. He tells his old ancestor that the beasts have arrived. With the formation blazing, he says he wants to see exactly how many medium-grade spirit stones the Zhu family can still afford to burn through. Those 2 second-layer cubs were never the actual point. Demon beasts throwing themselves at a market is just ordinary business. But a market whose formation completely fails is an absolute catastrophe. Both families answer to Iwa Palace for the market's stability. It is the absolute price of standing here at all. The Wang family holds the east and the Zhu family holds the west. A formation on that scale burns through medium-grade spirit stones. Those are incredibly precious, even to a Foundation establishment cultivator. The beast-taming Zhu family rings the massive bronze bell. Instantly, cultivators and spirit beasts answer the call across the entire western quarter. The old ancestor gives a single absolute order: hold the market formation. And the sheer fury on his face says he finally sees the whole shape of it. This isn't an attack. It's pulling the firewood out from under the cauldron, waiting for the water to go completely cold. He calls every single Zhu family cultivator to arms. Elsewhere in the market, a group of men who quietly slipped in a few days ago are just staring at one another. They ask why the place is already up in flames when they haven't even moved yet. Their leader gazes at the chaos and flashes a wolfish. Since the Divine Sword sect is going to war with Iwa Palace eventually anyway, this is an absolute gift from heaven. The Wolf State is ruled by 3 massive factions: the Divine Sword Sect, Iwa Palace, and Hyonium Pavilion. And the Divine Sword Sect sits right at the top. They really shouldn't have bothered. The protective formation barely flickers to life before the inside of the market rips itself apart entirely. Some faces out there look terrified, others look thrilled. Most just drop the mask entirely as shops collapse and fires erupt across the district. Cultivators slaughter each other right in the open. Anything to loot the dead. Somebody and nobody will ever know exactly who screams Foundation establishment pill into the chaos. Instantly, every single eye in the street turns blood red. The Zhu family summons rings out. Lilu just stands in my doorway, his face completely falling to pieces, begging me to protect his wife and kid if he never comes back. But an externally hired talisman master is totally exempt from answering those summons. And if I showed up anyway, the family would spend the entire night paranoid about my motives. So I keep my voice dead steady, telling him the market formation holds strong, and he is going to be fine. Then I press 2 first-grade medium-grade Golden Light Talismans and 2 first-grade low-grade Swift Travel Talismans right into his palm. I warn him to stay careful and avoid playing the hero. He shoots one last glance at his family, then walks out without looking back. I rush them down to the cellar. Digging a bunker under my house is an old habit of mine, but I truly never expected to actually use the one built under this new place. Once his family is safely under the floorboards, I trash the room so it looks like someone fled in total panic. Then I climb up to the roof because the sky is glowing red, and red skies mean fire. The view from up there makes my scalp tingle. The entire market is crawling with bloodshot cultivators, ripping through storefronts and tearing each other apart. Way too many of them, all looking to strike it rich on a disaster. I press my chest against the eaves, layering an invisibility technique right over breath concealment. I push my aura down until it is basically nothing. Flashy spells erupt across the rooftops all night long. And down below, the screaming just never stops. Meanwhile, back in the Jew family hall, panic reports just keep piling up. Cultivators are ransacking their estates, and Divine Sword sect bandits have been spotted right in the mob. The clan is burning through medium-grade spirit stones, trying to hold 8 formation nodes. The accountants do not think the family can survive this. The Foundation establishment old ancestor listens to this nightmare without flinching. He sends a private voice transmission to his son. Did he really just say Divine Sword sect bandits? Joe Inmo transmits back that there is absolutely no mistake. Jules' son identified them while fleeing back home. The old man replies with a single word of approval. A losing hand just got flipped upside down. He orders his son to personally abandon 3 of those formation nodes. Joe Inmo freezes for a heartbeat. He reads his father's gaze and instantly understands. After that, he does not hesitate at all. He lets his Foundation establishment aura explode into the open, making sure every eye in the market sees it. Then he leads the clan disciples away, acting like he is rushing to reinforce those exact nodes. The old ancestor watches his son leave. Then he slowly turns his murky eyes toward the Wang family quarter. The Zhu family is having a brutal night, but the Wang family is about to have a horrific morning. Demon beasts crash down into the market. Divine Sword sect bandits spawn inside the walls, and the only formation nodes that fail just happen to be guarded by the Zhu family. If the Wang family's side survives the night totally untouched, they will have some serious explaining to do about exactly who they have been talking to. The absolute chaos finally burns itself out shortly after dawn. That is exactly when the market stops being a lawless slaughterhouse. Some households are laughing this morning. Others are digging graves. Some men got filthy rich in the dark, and others are just staring at the ashes of their shops. Lilu limps back on one leg. He has the pale, hollow face of a guy who just crawled out of a mass grave. He says those 2 medium-grade Golden Light Talismans are the only reason he actually walked home. Then he breaks down completely, snot and tears everywhere. That is when it finally hits me. The real difference between us is not cultivation level. It is that Lilu has a family now. And a guy with a family is no longer a rogue cultivator who can casually throw his life away whenever he feels like it. He wipes his face and spills the rest of the news. I'm not ready for any of it. The Wang family was secretly colluding with Divine Sword sect bandits. The clan head himself took a bad hit. The bandits were vicious enough to smash 3 formation nodes. And once those barriers cracked, demon beasts flooded straight into the market. The clan officially identified the node breakers as Divine Sword sect men. First beasts, then a broken formation. Then a great house exposed for dealing with bandits, all inside. One night, Lilu is already pulling his wife and child up from the cellar, holding them tight. I stand there. Say nothing. The Foundation establishment clan I was so happy to hide behind doesn't look like much of a wall this morning. To be fair, the Jew family didn't abandon me last night. The contract I signed never promised me protection in the first place. They gave me the production manual for the first-grade medium-grade Golden White Talisman, and I give them a quota every month for 10 years. That is not a family. That right there is a loan. The only thing a man can lean on is his own strength. And I need a lot more of it fast. A market in turmoil is a market full of openings. This is the absolute best chance I am ever going to get. By noon, I hit the street. The shop is completely gutted. I stand in front of the wreckage, calling out for brother Shim and junior sister to dead air. Who knows how many merchant houses lost everything in the dark. While I ask around for them, the whole street is busy arguing. One guy blames the Jew family for taking a second-layer demon beast cub. If they hadn't, the black wind wolves never would have gone mad and driven the horde down on us. Someone else says the Qian couple who bought a cub a few days ago were both crushed in the wolves' jaws. A third calls all of that garbage. He points at the Wang family and their bandits, swearing that after the formation broke, he saw the Wolf King himself watching from a distance. Everyone has a version. Everyone is just throwing mud. Then someone calls my name. Yuk Chong Chong is standing at the mouth of an alley, and she looks absolutely wrecked. She tells me Shimu is alive. He took a heavy wound dragging her out last night. He is recovering back at the house, and she came out to see what was left of the shop. She stares at the ruins while she says it. That smile she is wearing is completely hollow. I tell her the only thing worth saying breathing is all that matters today. I follow her back to the residence. Shimriel is flat on the bed, his face white as paper. I tell him I am pretty glad he is alive. He is not glad about anything at all. He demands to know what kind of mess this is. Every single crate in that shop was fellow Taoist Un's foundation establishment preparation. Now all of it is just gone. Losing his own money is one thing. But it was not his money. Uno has terrible luck. The merchant house she built so carefully had barely even opened its doors. The loss will hit 700 or 800 spirit stones at the low end, probably over 1,000. Iwa Palace cultivators now patrol the streets in squads. They are throwing sound transmission spells across the rooftops. Anyone harming a fellow practitioner or breaking market rules without a reason will answer directly to Iwa Palace disciples. With demon beasts roaming outside the walls, a curfew is on. Sect reinforcements drop in 2 days. The Wong family and the Zhu family both show up to help keep the peace. Meanwhile, inside the Wong compound, word is the Grand Elder is cursing the sky. He planned for absolutely everything except a third party kicking his scheme over right at the finish line. The market stays dead quiet under Iwa Palace's heavy hand, mostly because everyone here knows how to count. The beasts that brought death last night become pure spirit stones the second reinforcements arrive. The bodies are already cleared off the road by the time I walk through. Only blackened stains are left to prove any of this nightmare even happened. I find myself kind of hoping someone managed to snatch a talisman legacy. 20 years here has made cultivators killing each other look like bad weather. Last night was just a heavier storm than usual. This newly designated trading area is an entirely different world from the dead residential streets. Overnight, everyone seems to agree nothing happened. It is loud, packed shoulder to shoulder, and almost feels like a festival. Looted goods are piled on stalls at prices that make 0 sense. Iwa Palace cultivators just watch coldly from the edges. Today, every single person out here, buyer and seller alike, wears black clothes and a conical hat. The guy in front of me calls 5 spirit stones for a first-grade, medium-grade Golden Light Talisman absolute lunatic pricing. I tell him if he is not buying, move along. In 2 days, those Iwa Palace reinforcements will start clearing the demon beasts outside. Buyers will not be scarce at all. Under my conical hat, with my voice pitched rough and my eyes hard, I am doing a fairly good job of being unpleasant. Everything else in this market depreciates today. Talismans and magical artifacts decide whether a man lives or dies. Things like that do not go cheap in a week like this. He tries to argue. I tell him to stop blocking my stall. He pays up. Inside a single hour, I have sold off 8 first-grade, medium-grade Golden Light Talismans. I pack the stall and vanish into the crowd to change my face again. Next stop, I offer 2 Golden Light Talismans for 3 first-grade, medium-grade Fireball Talismans. The vendor tells me to get lost. 3 more spirit stones and his answer magically changes. In under half a day, the entire backlog of medium-grade talismans I could never safely move is just gone. Minus a handful I keep to save my own skin. By afternoon, my storage pouch is loaded with medicinal pills, cultivation materials, and dozens of low-grade spirit stone. Danger and opportunity really do walk hand in hand. There will never be a better window than this right here. Better than 70 out of every 100 items out here are secondhand. And my stash vanishes into the pile like a coin tossed in a river. I wander over to the stall I have been circling all day. I ask the owner straight up if his first-grade, medium-grade flying sword talisman Jade Slip is the real deal. The Jade Slip is broken, cracked right down the middle. Whatever fight ended with this thing in his hands was not a gentle one. The masked old man behind the blanket rasps that a first-grade, medium-grade flying sword manual is incredibly rare. Any legacy of that tier starts above 100 spirit stones, even at auction. I offer him 3 spirit stones and tell him I want to gamble. He fires back that he would rather snap the thing in half. So I ask him point blank if he could genuinely guarantee it was real. Wouldn't it fetch over 100? I ask if he dares to make that promise. He has absolutely nothing to say to that. A guy who could guarantee it wouldn't be standing in a looted market peddling off a dirty blanket. Plus, half the loot out here is badly damaged anyway. What he does not realize is that I am staring at the tiny broken red mark at the edge of the slip, and I know it intimately. At an auction 18 years ago, this exact jade slip sold for 153 spirit stones. I remember because that ruined mark is the remains of a plum blossom seal. 18 years, if someone forged it down to that tiny detail, they earned my 3 stones. 3 spirit stones is cheap tuition anyway. I tell the old man this whole market is full of scavengers fishing in troubled waters. Then I ask how he prices a 100-stone item he refuses to stand behind. My face says the rest. The guy turns bright red. A market packed with outside loose cultivators is a market flooded with fakes. He probably just picked the thing up off the ground last night. He has no more clue than I do. Still, he insists it cannot go for 3 spirit stones. I just sneer at him and stand up. I remind him that 100 or 200 stalls are selling first-grade, medium-grade talisman manuals today. Some are even complete first-grade legacies. No matter who I buy from, I am rolling the dice. He slaps his thigh and shouts after me not to be so hasty. One guy aims for the sky, the other talks him down. We are all reasonable people here who can just talk it out. When I march straight toward another vendor selling medium-grade manuals, he drops the act and agrees to the 3 spirit stones. Goods for money, money for goods. Clutching that broken slip, I rub my hands together inside my sleeves where nobody can see. 20-odd years of cultivating. Surely I am finally due for a little luck. Then I read the back half of the slip. My eyes go wide and my 3 spirit stones evaporate. Because this is not a flying sword talisman manual at all. It is a first-grade, low-grade fireball manual. The cheap kind they practically hand out at the gate. I spin around, no stall blanket and absolutely no old man. The old bastard clearly moves spots after every single sale. Hunted birds my entire life. And today a bird pecked me right in the eye. Somewhere across the massive crowd, the exact same old man has set up shop. He flashes a wretched little smile, pulling another identical broken jade slip from his robe. Always the old ghosts, he thinks. They are the greedy ones, totally convinced their experience makes them vastly cleverer than everyone else around them. In a rare opportunity like this, a guy has to throw out some cheap bait if he actually wants to eat. He traces the hard edges of the spirit stones inside his pouch and smiles all over again. Experience is a wonderful thing, right up until it walks a man into a ditch. Then the screaming starts up the street. Jin Tower is opening its legacies to the public. Talisman, pill formula, artifact refining, and even formation arts. I had already written the day off. Was just walking home to plot out a grand talisman drawing strategy so I could feast tomorrow. That news stops me dead in my tracks. Jinbo Tower belongs to Iwa Palace, and that single fact is the only reason it still has a roof. No matter how ugly last night got, absolutely nobody in this market was stupid enough to rob them. Fishing in troubled waters is fine as long as you do not get caught. But touch Jinbo Tower? Iwa Palace will not waste a single afternoon collecting evidence. Then rumors start flying that the advanced legacies talisman making and alchemy are being fully opened to the public. The major sects and families have hoarded those crafts for as long as anyone can remember. I throw my disguise back on and head over. For loose cultivators like us, that sounds like brilliant news. But it is also a signal, and a pretty uncomfortable one. A market riot is an enormous disaster for people at my level. For a sect carrying 3 golden core elders, it barely warrants a raised eyebrow. Iwa Palace does not turn generous overnight. Not unless something vastly larger is moving behind the scenes. I finally reach Jinbo Tower, and any worry about being recognized dies on the spot. The crowd is an absolute wall of bodies pushing outward from the steps. Nobody here has the attention to spare for one more shabby middle-aged man hiding behind somebody else's face. The platform attendant lays it out plain and simple. With the wasteland reclamation looming, Iwa Palace is cracking open the vault first-grade, medium-grade talisman methods, pill formula, and artifact refining blueprints. Rare first-grade, medium-grade, and even high-grade medicinal pills and talismans are finally hitting the shelves. Prices are fixed, he says. Jinbo Tower treats everyone exactly the same. Honestly, I have never in my life seen this much wealth crammed into a single room. Cultivators came hunting precious pills. Others wanted life-saving talismans. The boards even list high-grade rank-breaking pills. For anyone jammed at the 6th layer of chi refining, that is practically a miracle. Attack types like Flying Sword, Fireball, and Earth Spike all first grade. Medium grade cost 100 spirit stones. Defensive ones run 120. The Flying Sword Talisman Legacy itself sits at 100. No haggling. 0 favors. I stop overthinking and buy it. Then the clerk drops the hammer. The spirit contract costs another 15 spirit stones. That stings. But I already handed over the bulk of it. A man does not walk away from a mountain over 1 extra pebble. I do quietly curse that old swindler who squeezed 3 spirit stones out of me recently. Still, there is a mean little thrill in knowing his scam is dead, now that the tower sells the real deal. The real kicker? I never found another soul he ripped off. Apparently, I was his special mark. Clerk hands over the first-grade, medium-grade, flying sword talisman jade slip. Just like that, my storage pouch is scraped down to pocket change. A spirit contract is basically the heart demon oath's cousin. Stripped of all the fancy ceremony, it forces a cultivator to swear on his Tao heart not to share what he bought, not with kids, not with disciples. If a clan wants the craft passed down the line, they have to pay Jinbo Tower again. It is the cultivation world's polite little way of locking down a legacy forever. Break the oath, and the backlash tears your mana to shreds. The binding only holds during the chi refinement stage, though. Anyone who reaches foundation establishment just slips right out of it. By that point, a first-grade, medium-grade talisman legacy is basically a trinket you could find anywhere. That power gap dictates exactly which circles a cultivator survives in. They will not even let me carry the jade slip outside the building. I grumble about that, making sure it is loud enough for everyone around to hear. I trudge out with slumped shoulders and a sour face. Just one more broke old cultivator who came to look but could not afford the goods. Marrow cleansing and wisdom opening do wonders. They give a middle-stage chi refining cultivator a memory that locks onto whatever it sees once. And the flying sword talisman legacy was a pretty short text. I have it all memorized. I take 3 wrong turns leaving the market, swap my face twice, and slip my ordinary disguise back on. By the time I hurry home, my mouth is curling into a grin on its own. A metal attribute offensive talisman. The notes say it manifests a golden sword blade on release, one that is unspeakably sharp. Then the latest rumor out of the Jew family completely knocks the grin off my face. Lou is waiting for me when I get back. The guy is practically sweating envy. He says every externally hired talisman master and alchemist can now claim a second medium-grade skill legacy, provided they sign a spirit contract. Clan members are whispering that anyone who performs well or marries in could get a massive favor. The family might lift a hand so their kids get the legacy too. He mutters that he is no talisman master like me. The 100 arts of cultivation left him in the dust a long time ago. So if the clan handed him a single spell and called it generous, then he drops his voice asking if I noticed the pattern. First Iwa Palace, then the major cultivation clans. Now he hears the Lee family is pulling the exact same move. He wants to know if something has gone wrong. Everyone is shoveling power into cultivators with both hands while quietly locking them into contracts. Obviously, something is terribly wrong. I just shake my head, feeding him the same tired line my father's generation always used. If the sky falls, the tall guys will hold it up. Knowing the truth changes absolutely nothing at our cultivation level. Usually that logic works on him. But this time he goes dead quiet and his whole face sags. He admits that during a recent riot, he was absolutely certain he was going to die. Right in the middle of the chaos, he thought about his family. His kids were so small, and he really didn't want to lose them. The crushing helplessness of a life completely out of your own hands. It is a familiar beast. I have known that feeling for 20 years. The difference is when the market burned, I was relieved to have nobody depending on me. Lou goes back to a packed house every night, and that kind of warmth always demands a price. All I can tell him is to cultivate and stop thinking so much. Overthinking does not buy a damn thing. He forces himself together and limps out on that leg that still has not fully healed. Intermarriage. The great families clearly have intel the rest of us are not getting. Without raw strength, a man never breaks into those upper circles. And nothing about that brutal rule has changed since I was 20. So strength is exactly what I buy next. Back in the secret room, brush down. I finished the low-grade flying sword talisman and finally let out a breath. The system panel flashes exactly what I wanted to see. Mjangen lifespan sitting at 40 of 99. Chi refining 4th layer 15 of 100. Everspring art technique is proficient 932 of 1000. Golden Light Talisman skill sits at 36 of 1000. Swift travel talisman 3 of 1000. The flying sword talisman already hit skilled at 128 of 500. Guess my worry was just wasted. My overall talisman craft sits firmly at the 1st grade medium level. That skill belongs entirely to me, not bound to any single design. So any new talisman I learn levels up incredibly fast. Low-grade stuff hits skilled instantly. Add a little patient grinding, and it easily climbs straight into medium grade. Just the way any ordinary master would do it. The flying sword talisman jumped from 0 to skilled in a single night. Hitting proficient inside of a month is not just blind optimism on my part. It is pure arithmetic. Proficient is the exact hand a 1st grade medium master holds. Once you grasp the foundation, swapping talismans just means drawing different shapes. The core art stays exactly the same. That leaves me with 2 1st grade medium legacies of my very own. The Golden Light Talisman and the Flying Sword Talisman. The Jew family offering a 3rd with marriage talks, stitched on are not gifts. I remember the night the market burned. Liu got shoved out to risk his neck for that clan. My standing with them is pretty damn clear. Just a hired hand. I borrowed a technique, signed a 10-year repayment deal to keep it. Now they want my entire life as interest. I do not need their resources that badly. If anything, this sudden general opening throws the entire market into absolute chaos. And chaos is the exact cover I need to sell quietly. Right under Iwa Palace. The entire bottom tier of the cultivation world is about to get way stronger all at once. Past our garbage spiritual roots. The thing crippling loose cultivators is that nobody ever sells us anything actually worth having. Heavy snow falls down like goose feathers. Up above, 2 flying ships tear straight through the low clouds, hanging right over the green bamboo mountain market. Mana rolling off their hulls thick enough to really see.